I like to bring people happiness. Okay, that's a goal of mine, okay? It's partly why we do this podcast. I like to bring our viewers happiness, and I'm going to give you a little bit of happiness. This is a gift to you, okay?
All right.
So, Eternals 2, Captain Marvel 3, and Antman 4 are no longer in development.
Nice. Nice. Cha-ching.
Right? Is that not one of the best pieces of news I've ever presented to you on this show? All right. Welcome to another episode of Only Comics. I'm Mike. This is Adrian.
Good morning. What's
up, dude?
Another lovely day, baby.
It is,
lovely
man.
day.
It's St. Patty's Day. Now, I know we're recording this on St. Patty's Day. You know, when you're watching this, it's not. But I don't really know what that means, but it is.
You know, it's funny. It's like there's nothing green around us. Like no trees are green. The water isn't green in the river.
Nope.
There's no green streamers on the road. I don't even see green cars.
No. I don't know what the hell's going on. We didn't have any green coffee or green donuts here this morning either, you know, courtesy of our, I guess, would they be silent partners?
Yeah. No.
Non-existent.
Silent partner, a partner means somebody that's contributing to something.
True.
Well, they're not. So we'll leave it at, who would you say? The
vendor that shall not be named.
Yeah, right. The vendor who shall not be named.
There you go. So, dude, nice shirt. Dude. We didn't even plan this, but we're coordinating.
No,
look at that.
No. I feel like I got mine on backwards there. But that's okay.
That's all right. Yeah, no,
it's two different shirts.
It is, yes.
The color is the same.
Correct.
Just two different shirts.
Exactly. And since you asked, where could you get a shirt like this? On onlycomicsmerch.com.
There you go.
So there you go. Check it out. Anyways, we got a fun show planned, Adrian, as always. A lot of news and rumors going on this week.
Of course.
You know what's funny? We were talking about at home, my wife, the movie Madam Web. She's like, don't you guys review movies? How come you didn't go see that? I'm like, have you seen the trailer? But, you know, I saw this. This is just a side note. Sydney Sweeney, the one of the actresses from the movie, like, this movie's been out for about a month, and it's done horribly. It's gotten horrible reviews, right?
Wow.
So they're asking her about it, like, you know, and she's, I guess, has been in, everything she's been in so far has done pretty well. She's from Euphoria or whatnot.
Okay.
And I wasn't a big fan of her response. She kind of just, like, shifted the blame. Like, so I guess before we even get into news and rumors, I was interested to hear your perspective on this, Adrian. Mm-hmm. So if a movie's bad, right, should the actor take any of the blame for being a part of it? Because her stance was, well, I was just hired to do a job and I did what I was told. Like, basically, like, it's not my fault the movie's bad. But you did read the script, right?
Right.
So the shitty dialogue that everyone talks about and the stupid plot was in the script, right? I mean, I don't think they changed it on when you came on set. Right. So you did see this, you did evaluate it, and you decided it would be a good move. And then when it got shitted on, then you're like, no, it's the director's fault, not mine. I just did my job.
Right.
I think that's bullshit. I think the actor we should evaluate, because they get so much credit when the movie does well, right? So the movie, they should know to not be in a bad movie, in my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to refer to Forrest Gump.
Okay.
All right. So a lot of actors read the part of the friend, the black guy. Mm-hmm. You know, him Bubba. Being Bubba, right? And they were like, there's no way I'm going to play this character. And then the movie came out, and it becomes like one of the top grossing movies, one of the most popular movies ever.
Yeah.
Up there with Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, kind of a deal, right? So I don't think, you know, that people know how the movie is going to come out. Now, that being said, if she says something to the effect of, well, it's not my fault, you know, I just did a job, well, that's kind of a shitty attitude to have about anything that you participate in, because you do have a choice to participate or not. You know, she does not have any control, or the actor or actress does not have any control over what happens with the movie, how it's marketed, and the final cuts and all that kind of stuff. Her stance should have been something like, you know, I would have liked the movie to have done better in the market. Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know, I did, you know, the best that I performed the best that I could based on the script, something along those lines. Don't shit on it. Don't praise it. Just kind of like, because after all, people are also going to rate her on, I mean, she's going to have to eat based on those type of comments.
Exactly.
Right? Because a director look at that comment and be like, oh, yeah, we're not going to hire her anymore in the future. And a lot of actors and actresses have killed themselves by making shitty comments.
Yeah. Well, I think what she said and the main actress, the starring actress Dakota Johnson, basically kind of chalked it up to like, I'm not going to do superhero movies anymore. That's not my genre. Like it's just a movie. Like,
Right.
Are we not past the point where a superhero movie, a comic book movie, is just another movie?
Apparently they don't get that. So, I mean, are you not going to do voiceovers? Are you not going to, play a witch? Are you not going to play a villain? You're not going to play a superhero. You're not going to play, don't show up in Fast and Furious at all. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you. Don't do that. I mean, Robert Pattinson kind of went down that road. Your boy Edward, your big.
Yep.
Adrian's like a secret Twilight fan. Like, I'm not saying that to be funny. Like, you did watch those movies. You enjoyed them.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually am a Twilight fan, which is why I can't see him as anything else. Well, I can't say that I can't see him.
You're getting there, I think.
I'm getting there.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, it's probably partly due to me trying to sell you on it every single week when we do this. But he kind of went on a run where he didn't want to be in these like blockbuster type movies because, Twilight was kind of like a teeny bopper movie, right? It was something everyone loved at the time. And then like a few years later, like, why'd I like that? That was stupid. So he kind of went into this more serious acting, drama, independent. So for him to come back to a movie like The Batman was a big change for him to almost kind of go back on what he was saying. But he didn't shit on the whole genre or shit on everything like, Sydney Sweeney's doing or something. Right. He's just kind of like, that's not for me right now. I want to go in this direction. But now he came back to it, and he's kind of got the best of both worlds because he's in a comic movie that is treated more as like an actual movie dealing. It feels like more like a drama,
Right. I don't understand. You are an actor or actress. Your job is to play a range of things.
Right.
You can't take back what you've done in the past. Just that's part of your portfolio. Don't say, "Oh, I wish I never did that," or "Why did I do that?" or "Why?" It was a thing. He's actually kind of lucky that he's one of those child actors because he was in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
He's actually lucky that he was able to transition from a child actor, which a lot of child actors don't do successfully. Macaulay Culkin.
Exactly. Yep. No doubt. I mean, Home Alone, we have talked about that as one of the best Christmas movies ever. So, anyways, well, let's hop into the news and rumors. So, a lot of X-Men stuff this week. Yep. X-Men 97, dudes, debuting in 2 days.
Okay.
First 2 episodes. So, we will we'll check those out, review them here. First 3 episodes. This is a problem, though, okay? Because I'm a little upset about something, Adrian. We've been doing this podcast for a while now.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a lot of the industry that's listening to us, right?
Obviously.
But we don't get called when these early releases come out. Like, there's critics that have already seen the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97, and they're giving their critiques. Wow. Why were we not included in that?
I'm feeling something. I feel you. I feel your anger.
It's bullshit. I'm going to go on strike. I don't know what I'm going to go on strike for, but I'm going on strike. Right. Between that and that vendor that shall not be named, who's not supplying the box of Joe, I don't know, man. I'm going to stop the show right now. But anyway, we'll get through this first. So X-Men 97, first 3 episodes, handful of critics have seen them. Really, really strong positive reviews. I mean, across the board. But that is this is kind of bittersweet news, though. So before you say nice, Adrian, brace yourself.
Okay.
There's the revival creator. His name's Bo. I'm assuming it's Bo. Beau. That would be pronounced Bo?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how that's Bo.
Like Bo Bridges.
I mean, Bo would be B-O. But I mean, maybe you don't call yourself.
How is Robert Dick?
Richard,
Robert.
Yeah, Robert. How's Robert Bob? We have no idea.
There you go.
See, mine's pretty simple. Michael, Mike. I mean, this, just saying. But anyways, Bo DeMeo. So a few days ago, they reported that he was fired. All right, and then they tried to reach out to him for comment. They reached out to Marvel for comment. So this dude, Brad Winderbaum, over here, dude. If your name was Winderbaum, would you like?
Be in anything?
Like, would you want to change your last name? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are there certain last names where you're like, I'm done, dude. I can't go. But anyways, whatever. Maybe it's a great family name and everyone loves it. But okay, so Brad Winderbaum, he is the head of streaming, television, and animation at Marvel Studios.
Yep.
So he addressed this departure of Bo DeMeo. And what he said was, I can't talk about the details. He talked to EW in an interview. He says, I can say that Bo has a real respect and passion for these characters and wrote what I think are excellent scripts. Because this dude wrote the first season and the second season already. So we've not even seen the first season yet. The second season's already written. He says that he wrote excellent scripts. The rest of the team were able to draw inspiration from and built this amazing show. And then he said that he categorized the parting of ways. He would not categorize it as a firing. He says, I don't. We parted ways is the best way I could say it. Very vague. And I saw another rumor that it had something to do with this individual's like OnlyFans content. So this dude, Bo, apparently he's got an account, and Marvel, I guess, caught wind of it. Now, that's a rumor, not been confirmed. But if that's true, it's a little bit insane.
Okay.
For me, the guy's a writer on the show.
Yeah.
He has his own account on there. I don't know that the audience for the show is going to be the same audience for his account. This also, we'll go. What's your take on that?
First of all, who's this Bo guy? I mean, you're talking about a body,
right?
A chunk of flesh sitting in a dark room with a pencil and a piece of paper.
Correct.
Writing something that, nobody's ever going to know who you are, what you look like, so on and so forth. I mean, this is the first time, because you telling me the story, and I'm still like, who the hell is this Bo guy?
Exactly.
Right? So with that being said, I can understand, because, I mean, that's a trend lately. Your social media status can affect your future employment.
Correct.
I know people that have said stuff. I mean, what we would consider minor. They've said things, and it has stopped them from getting certain jobs.
Right.
There's a whole trend right now, I think, on TikTok, where people are being walked out of the buildings. They're being fired because of their OnlyFans content, or the fact that they have an account, or some other social media kind of a thing. So I can understand that, but the vagueness is, of course, they're not going to say, well, we're going to fire you because of your OnlyFans content, and we're not going to say we're going to fire you. We're just going to agree that we parted ways, which is a bullshit answer.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they probably gave him an ultimatum, like, hey, take it down, you can continue to work here, whatever. It reminds me of, so there, I'm a big WWE guy, Adrian. Yep. There was a wrestler a couple years ago, Mandy Rose was her wrestling name. Mandy Sachs is her real name. She was a bit popular, moving up the ranks, whole deal, and she had an OnlyFans account. And this thing was blowing up, I guess.
Right.
And then there was a leak. So once that leak took place, WWE they caught wind of it. They knew about it, but then it became a big deal on their radar. And they brought her in, basically said, you either drop that or you cannot work here anymore.
Right.
And then she's like, well, I'm making more there than I am here.
Right.
I'm not going to drop that. So they fired her or parted ways.
Parted ways.
Dude, the next 7 days, she made over 7 figures.
Right.
With her adult content.
Right.
Now, you mentioned before I brought this up, you would have never known who Bo DeMeo was.
Right.
Just like until he got fired or parted ways, I would have never known.
Exactly.
So for this one, like, I guess the Mandy Rose one, I get she's the one you're putting out there. Like, she's your star. I mean, hey, it's your company, your rules. But this one's like, the dude's a writer.
Right.
He's not the star of the show. If this didn't happen, the masses wouldn't have known who he was.
Right.
Right. So for that part, I'm like, it's insane. But the fact that X-Men 97, great reviews so far, I'm hyped about that because we're going to review it here.
Right. Yeah, but so he wrote seasons 1 and 2?
Yes.
Yeah, so what's 3 going to look like?
Exactly.
Number 1. Number 2 is like, but it's the erosion of privacy, dude.
Right.
It's like you cannot do anything anymore and assume that you have some level of privacy.
Correct.
And we're not even camered up like a lot of other countries, like England, like Europe in general, China, places like that. So imagine if with our, freedoms, right? And then we're all camered out, and then there was this movie about these people, they lived on like on likes. It's like your job rating, your income, everything was like whether or not you got likes. Every interaction was, hey, Mike, how you doing today? Like me. But if you don't, then you're all depressed and shit.
Yeah.
It's like we getting to that point.
Exactly. I'll say that's not even really a movie anymore. That's kind of how it is.
Right.
It's sad, but so I'm not a big fan of that. But yeah, to your point, that means we got 2 seasons.
Right.
And what happens now? Could they get another writer? Sure, because I don't believe he was a writer on the original animated series. But and there's been a handful of changes with this show. We're going to talk later about a little preview that was released. Did you see the Sentinel fight?
I did not see the Sentinel fight. I just saw the first one with the bad Wolverine
Yeah.
voiceover.
Yeah, even that there's been other characters that they changed the voice actors. I think partly because of that. You know, a couple of them, the guy's passed away because this was 30 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I think I want to say the Magneto voice actor passed away. But if you hear the new Magneto voice guy, I think it sounds great.
Okay.
I mean, I saw her little clips in the or her little snippets in the trailer. But
Wait a minute, who? Her little snippets? You talking about? You said Magneto, then you say her.
Heard. Sorry, I mumble.
Oh,
I heard
that. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's why sometimes the captions don't always line up with what I'm saying because
I'm like, wait a minute, did we do another gender switch here? What happened?
No.
A female Magneto.
And we definitely don't need to, And that, I mean, we say that a lot, but like, I don't believe that we need to switch genders or even a lot of times races. Like, it's just because there's so many characters out there where if you're looking for a certain demographic, dude, it's in the comics.
I mean, or just bring up another character. I mean, there's a Magneto-esque, girl somewhere within the X-Men. I'm doing some research. I found out Tony Stark had an older brother that was smarter than he is. I'm like, where the hell did this come from?
Wow.
Then we got the Nova chick, Xavier's sister. Where did that come from?
Right.
So just do like America when they print money. Just print money. There's no reason.
Print more characters.
Just make more characters.
Exactly. Now to that, are you a Breaking Bad fan?
I am.
Remember Giancarlo Esposito played Mr. Fring?
Yep, that dude's in a lot of stuff.
Dude, he's in a lot. He wants to play Charles Xavier.
Don't go there.
You don't see it?
Let me ponder on that.
Because that's when I'm like, I don't want to say never change race. Because sometimes, like, I don't mind the Jeffrey Wright Captain Gordon in the Batman.
Right.
It's because I think they did enough to embody that character. So I think in certain instances where there's an actor that can really embody that character, and if that's more important than the overall look, sure. I just don't like when they change it just to change it, you know. Right. So that one, and I also heard, I think this may have been a fan casting. I don't know if Giancarlo actually said this, but they were saying that, Giancarlo as Xavier and Denzel as Magneto.
No. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go no across the board because Denzel's been in enough badass movies. Magneto, no. All
right, so you're on the no train.
No.
Man, I know what I'm gonna throw out on agree to disagree.
No.
All right.
Nope.
So you're saying you're not a fan?
Nah.
Next up, Grant Morrison responds to Zack Snyder about the Batman killing thing. Okay. So you know who Grant Morrison is, writer?
A writer?
Yeah, comic book writer.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, he's pretty known for he had a really long run on Batman. I think it was like 7-year run on Batman's main comic book line. He wrote the Arkham Asylum graphic novel. It's probably one of his biggest graphic novels, but he's someone that, in my opinion, really understands the Batman character. Okay. So we talked last week about Zack Snyder and his bullshit he was saying about how Batman's a god and we have to have flawed gods and that's why he's killing and all this crazy shit. So what Morrison said, he goes, the Batman puts himself in danger every night but steadfastly refuses to murder is an essential element of the character's magnificent, horrendous, childlike psychosis. And he says that Bruce Wayne never grew out of that childlike state, stuck forever as a little boy who lost his parents in Crime Alley, and that this rule is basically fundamental to Batman. If Batman killed his enemies, he'd be the Joker, and Commissioner Gordon would have to lock him up. I couldn't agree more with this. I know that you have you're not I don't want to say you're not a huge fan, but you've critiqued the no-kill rule from the perspective of, and I thought you've always done it, and you correct me if I'm wrong, kind of like from the character view, because Batman doesn't kill, these things happen.
Correct.
I don't know that you were saying that the Batman character should kill, because I don't think he should. I think that it allows him to be imperfect, because in a perfect world, I think you'd want him to kill certain individuals and not others, right? Because if he killed the Joker, a lot of other things would have been solved. But if he went around killing every freaking criminal like, Zack Snyder's Joker, then we'd have Batman, we'd have a big issue.
Right. So from the character perspective, if Batman is going to have a flaw, the no killing thing is his flaw, which makes him the Batman.
Right.
Because if he wasn't, he'd be Deadpool. You know,
exactly.
So we need to have these flaws in these people. But yes, if he take out these, people, the Joker, all this other kind of stuff wouldn't happen. But of course, then you wouldn't have all these different stories.
Right.
So from a logical point of view, yeah, he should take him out. From a character point of view, I agree with you. He would be a different type of person, and then he would have a whole different kind of adversary. Commissioner Gordon being one of them.
Correct. Yeah, you think the cops are not going to back him? Like, oh, hey, Batman, he killed Joker. It's okay because it's Joker.
Right, right. But then when does it stop?
Right. Exactly. I mean, you want him to be perfect, and he's Superman and boring. Right. I mean, just
there
saying.
You go.
But he would be if that was the case, he'd be perfect, right? He kills Joker, but not the average guy. Not the average thief that's robbing the bank. He locks that guy up. Oh, but Bane is such a asshole. Let's kill him too. And he picks and chooses, and he's just he's just the model citizen, I guess.
I think if Batman killed people, he would be like Dexter. He would be like, a serial killer of serial killers kind of a deal. I mean, he would be perfect. Nobody would know who he is. He would probably be a little bit more low-key. He obviously wouldn't have a bat signal, right? But he would just go around taking out the Jokers and their empires, taking out the Riddlers and their empires, and they would just be like bodies everywhere, and nobody even knew what happened. So, yeah, I'm glad that he is the way he is.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't be as interesting as he is. I mean, part of what makes him so appealing is that limitation. Just like he's just a regular human, but he will go up against anybody, and he can go up against anybody.
Correct.
Just like he can kill, but he doesn't. So his limitations is his own superpower, I think.
And that was the first time I heard that take about Bruce Wayne really being stuck in that childlike state almost, which makes sense because his parents were killed. Though. Yeah. Well, I mean, Morrison writes the character, so his version is. Okay. But I mean, the that idea that, okay, I saw my parents killed in front of me, and the whole reason he became Batman is he wanted to prevent that for other people, right? So he's still, and you could call it a childlike thinking where, hey, I'm not going to kill anyone because of the impact that had to me. Like, that's literally the basis of his rule. Like, I know what that did to me. Right. So if Batman were to kill some random criminal, well, that criminal may has a family as well. Maybe has a little boy at home. Okay, well, he's a bad guy. Okay. But he's not trying to put anyone else through that pain that he went through.
Right. I mean, I can understand that. I mean, we all have like some, well, not we all, but, people have certain levels of psychosis based on some event that happened in the past. Yeah. If you got beat as a child by your parents, you're either going to beat your kids or not beat your kids because you got beat as a kid, as an example. Right. So it just so happens that Batman, Bruce Wayne was a perfect storm. This happened to him. He was going to have some kind of reaction whether he was rich or not. But he just happened to have been rich and able to go and do all of these things in order to make himself the Batman. So that perfect culmination is what we see, in the comic books. And, I mean, so it's going to come out one way or the other.
Sure. That's why you got Batman up here and you got Superman,
It's bad when your own son thinks that Batman is the greatest ever.
Even Superman's dog is like, I'd rather be Batman's dog, straight up. All right, moving on. And just in case you're not clear, this is only comics where we discuss comics and only comics and sometimes some other stuff.
Some other stuff.
A little here and there. Number 3, you're going to love this one. Every week, Asia, I like to bring people happiness. Okay, that's a goal of mine, okay? It's partly why we do this podcast. I like to bring our viewers happiness, and I'm going to give you a little bit of happiness. This is a gift to you, okay?
All right.
So, Eternals 2, Captain Marvel 3, and Antman 4 are no longer in development.
Nice. Nice. Cha-ching.
Right? Is that not one of the best pieces of news I've ever presented to you on this show?
Wow.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yep. So there's an industry insider, Daniel Richmond here. Hopefully you don't have an OnlyFans account. You're asking me to fire too. that Eternals 2 is no longer in development, and other potential projects like a third Captain Marvel movie or fourth Ant-Man will not be pursued. And the article kind of goes on. It was a Forbes article where they talked about how Disney's getting risk adverse. That's why they're not doing it. I'm like, no. They're not getting risk adverse.
They're listening to us.
Exactly.
And they're like weighing the consequences. They're like, oh, those guys,
right.
They make a point.
Yeah.
So let's just cancel all these shows.
I mean, I think the biggest point we made is stop making movies that nobody wants to fucking see.
Right. And then there's that.
Like, I mean, hello. Who, raise your hand if you want to see Eternals 2. Like, I know there's 3 people that comment on our podcast that like it. Everyone else doesn't. So, hey, shout out to those 3. Exactly. I mean, appreciate y'all, but it's not going to happen. Right. Captain Marvel 3, no one wants to see it.
Nope.
Ant-Man 4, no one wants to see it. No one wanted to see Ant-Man 3. They wasted Kang in Ant-Man 3, which thankfully, since they got rid of him anyways, but shit. Right. So I'm all for not seeing any of those movies.
I don't want to see another Ant-Man only because Paul Rudd is like immortal. and as every 10 years they come out with an Ant-Man, it's like, wow, I got older. And this dude is still 15.
Yeah, what happened to that dude? Yeah. I mean, he even was snapped away for 5 years and came back looking younger than his own daughter. What the hell? Next up, Venom 3. The title of this leaked, Adrian. It's the title of this leaked, and there's also a rumor here to discuss. So the title of Venom 3 is now Venom: The Last Dance. Okay, so maybe the culmination of the trilogy, I guess.
Hopefully the last Venom.
Well, let's get to that. So Venom is rumored to show up in the future in the Secret Wars movie.
Okay.
So your boy Venom, Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy, rumored to show up and see. Now, I did say a few weeks back that we should see Tom Hardy's Venom cross paths with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact that this Venom 3 is The Last Dance. I don't mind the thought of him showing up at Secret Wars. How do you feel?
I thought he was in Secret Wars. That's how Spider-Man got the suit.
He was. No, just the symbiote was in the original Secret Wars. Venom wasn't there yet.
Yeah, I was pausing. I'm like, was Venom in Secret Wars already? So it was just a symbiote in Secret Wars. Got it.
And then, Spider-Man gets a symbiote when they're in the battle world. And I guess he keeps it when he goes back to, the real universe. Right. And from there, once he realizes it's a bad thing, it's turning him evil or whatever, he gets rid of it, and then Eddie Brock gets it.
Right. So to answer your question, no, I don't want to see Venom anywhere.
Okay.
Not because I don't like Venom.
Yeah.
I don't like the actor playing. Well, it's not even that. It's just that they've neutered Venom.
The portrayal's weird.
It's just a weird. They're trying to make him a comedian or something, and it's just not working out. So I would just like for them to end the pain.
Yeah.
And just leave it.
Right. Like
bring in a symbiote.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But the other part, no.
I would just like to have seen a really vicious, savage Venom, like the early Venom. I understand that Venom's turned into like an anti-hero / hero in the comics. I get all that, but like the movie, the comics are here in the timeline, and the movies are way back here.
Right.
Let's stick to some of the. I want to see that savage Venom.
Right.
I want to see that savage Venom fighting Spider-Man.
Right.
Now that we have this grounded Spider-Man, not this comical wannabe Deadpool Venom.
Right. Just like I don't want to see this on the fence. Like I love Black Adam, the movie, but Black Adam is Black Adam.
Right.
He needs to be fighting Superman, which is really pretty much his existence.
Correct. Dude, speaking of Black Adam, The Rock right now is on. He's on something, dude. Like with this whole this evil character in WWE, like seeing what he's doing there. Every time I see that, I'm like, damn, I wish he was a villain as Black Adam, because it's just so freaking entertaining.
He probably regrets not being an evil Black Adam on screen, and he's taking that out on these poor WWE people.
Dude, it's hysterical. He did a concert the other night where he's singing this song, calling the fans crybabies, it's just hysterical. But yeah, he's having so much fun with it. But yeah, I agree. I think he learned from the Black Adam debacle.
Right.
Because the rumors were that he wanted to be the anti-hero versus being, and you talk a lot of times you equate them to wanting to be Deadpool, and I think that is a lot of this. I think because Deadpool's an anti-hero.
Right.
He's funny as shit. He swears. But he's in his own tier. Mm-hmm. He's buying. We don't need more of that.
Right.
Let him do his thing.
Exactly.
So, last one, Henry Cavill, your boy.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about him. Now, there's always rumors, dude, about him showing up in the MCU.
Right.
We talked about the fan. I don't know. It wasn't a fan casting. It was a rumor that he was going to play Captain Britain.
Correct.
Right. I've seen rumors about him playing Cyclops.
What?
Yeah. Now we have a rumor here.
Hopefully, that's just a rumor.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well,
he's too big for to play Cyclops.
Like physically big, or
yeah.
Well, we got another one for you, Adrian. Henry Cavill rumored to show up as a Wolverine variant in Deadpool and Wolverine.
I could see that.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And you're for that?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Really?
Yeah.
My thing on that is I would be cool if – I don't want Henry Cavill to be wasted.
Right.
I don't want him to just show up as like my man who did Reed Richards in Doctor Strange.
Oh,
John
okay.
Krasinski or whatever.
Yep.
Looks the part, great.
Yep.
Shows up for 4 seconds and just gets,
right.
Whatever. I thought that was pretty good line, though, in Scarlet Witch was like, do your kids have a mother? And she's like, yeah. It's like, okay, good, because, like, basically when I kill you, at least they'll still have one parent. It's like, damn. Which is why we need more Scarlet Witch.
Right.
She's a fucking savage.
Right.
But, I'm not – if it's just going to be wasted as a camp – now, if they're going to make him the next Wolverine, because I think he could – I think he could do that. I think he'd pull off Wolverine.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I agree with you that if it's just a cameo, that's a waste of him. But, I mean, Wolverine is a beast.
Right.
I mean, obviously he's like 2 foot shorter than
Correct.
Henry Cavill, but Wolverine is a beast body-wise, and so is Henry Cavill. So I definitely think that he could pull it off.
What is it with Hollywood and not wanting Wolverine, the short king Wolverine, to thrive? Like, give him his shine. The Wolverine's like 5'5" or something. Why do they gotta be 6 foot?
I don't know. I'm sure there's people that fit that description. So I don't know.
I mean, your boy Tom Cruise.
No.
I mean, his other short actors, though. No. Not even once. Not even as a variant.
No.
But yeah, I mean, because Henry Cavill's what? He's got to be over 6 foot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So let's put everyone else on heels, I guess. But who knows? Well, I mean, it's Hollywood. You can't have your hero not be 6'2" and chiseled, right?
Well, everybody's used to Hugh Jackman at this point. So at this point, the 5'5" Wolverine in people's mind don't even exist.
Correct.
So it'll be an easier transition. So
yeah.
We just, the old school people still like, where's my little short Wolverine? Well, he doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, well, that's me. I'm still looking for him. All right, that's our news and rumors. So we like to recap news and rumors with a little thumbs up, thumbs down. So I'll recap each article, and I'll give you a thumbs up or thumbs down, and Adrian will do the same.
Yep.
You ready?
Ready.
All right, strong reviews for the first 3 X-Men 97 episodes, and then maybe the X-Men writer got fired or parted ways. So I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this the thumbs down because it's like a tease because we wrote the first 2 seasons and now he's gone. So I'm going to give a thumbs down.
So what's the actual title? The good reviews and the writer got fired?
Yeah.
Oh, thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Number 2, Grant Morrison responds to Zack Snyder about Batman killing and basically puts him in his place. I'm giving this a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Eternals 2, Captain Marvel 3, and Antman 4 are no longer in development. I'm 2 thumbs up. First time ever.
I agree. 2 thumbs up.
I want to put that on agree to disagree, too,
Right.
just because. Venom 3, titled The Last Dance, and Venom is rumored to appear in Secret Wars next. I'm giving this a thumbs up.
Thumbs down because I just don't care.
You don't want to see Venom.
I don't want to see
Not that Venom. Henry Cavill rumored to show up as a Wolverine variant in Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm going to give this a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. I agree with you. I just hope it's not, just that thing.
Right. We hope it leads to more than just a cameo.
It could be they're just testing the waters. If that's true, testing the waters to see if Cavill can play the Wolverine. I'm just saying.
So they put this out. So what they did was they put this out knowing that we would see it. Right. So it was like a whole chain reaction. They let some insider know. They put it on a website that they know we go to.
Right.
They knew we were going to talk about it today. And they wanted to see what Mike and Adrian thought of this news.
Exactly.
Guys, all you have to do is just send me an email. Right. You don't have to play this game. Right. We're here for you, You
know what? You can even send it with a box of Joe.
There you go.
You don't even if you feel so bad about it, you don't even have to do it yourself.
Right.
Just put a sticky on a box of Joe and send it to us. We cool with that.
There you go. That's all. So anyway, that's it for thumbs up, thumbs down. You guys let us know if you agree with us or not. We're going to move on. Adrian, we got a hidden gem this week, like we do all weeks. We have a little bit of a surprise this week for the fans. So not only do we have a hidden gem, but we have an Omega level mutant series we're starting, which is going to be similar to the hidden gem, but we're going to focus on Omega level mutants. So we're going to get to that later. But right now, if you've not done this yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this with somebody who knows they need it in their life. Because like I said, my job here is to bring you all happiness, okay? So, Adrian, you're going to bring someone happiness right now with this hidden gem segment.
Let's rephrase that.
The job is to make everyone happy.
Yeah, okay, that's better.
I feel like the modern-day Bob Ross, except we're not painting and I don't have a fro. So, anyways, hidden gem. What do you got going on this week, Adrian?
All right, so when I'm doing this research for other characters, right, I see this one character in the background, and I remember this character from when I was reading comics, in high school.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, I mean, this character isn't really a hidden gem. This character is just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that a lot of people pay attention to it, right? So this week's hidden gem is Lockheed.
Okay.
And Lockheed is actually kind of a pet, but not really. All right, so if you ever seen the X-Men and there's like this little cat-sized dragon around, that's Lockheed. And it started out where, Kitty, she made up this story about this dragon, and she was talking to Ileana, who is Peter's little sister, in the mansion about these, fictional dragons and this and that, so on and so forth. Now, it just so happened that the X-Men, they go off-world, and what pops up was this little dragon from a race of dragons, right? And so Kitty, looking at this dragon, was like, well, it looks like the dragon that's in my fairy tale, so she named it Lockheed. Lockheed is actually the name of the jet that the X-Men go around in.
Really?
Yeah. It's not the name of the jet, but Lockheed Martin made the jet, the Blackbird.
Okay. Right? Oh, yeah, I see it. Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird jet aircraft. No shit. I always thought it was just a Blackbird.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Look at that. You're educating people with hidden gems. So I'm making them happy and you're educating them. That's why we're the dynamic duo right there.
Exactly. So she took this fairy tale, and now she's actually got this dragon. She doesn't have the dragon, but she sees this dragon, and she names him Lockheed. Now, when they come back to Earth, Lockheed stores what this little dragon stows away on this ship. They don't even know that it's there. Mm-hmm. And it hides out in the mansion, right? And they don't even know that it exists, except that, well, part of the interaction with that being in space was there was this this race called the Brood. Yeah. That would it was like a Invasion of the Body Snatchers, kind of the thing from people that watch movies back in the 60s or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Lockheed would protect Kitty from these Brood. The eggs would hatch, they would come out, and they would seek hosts, right? So Lockheed was going around the mansion in between walls and stuff, and burning up these nests, and nobody even knew about it. So eventually he comes out. And he bonds pretty much with Kitty, which is actually what they call a shadow cat. She can walk through walls and stuff.
Oh yeah, Kitty Pryde.
He also liked Ileana too.
Okay.
Peter's or Colossus's younger sister. So he becomes the mansion pet, but he's actually from a race of spacefaring aliens that use spaceships to transport their psyche or something like that, around space. So they're intelligent. They're not just like a cat or a dog.
Got it.
It's just that, so he bonded with Kitty, going around with her and all this other kind of stuff. So that was cool. Nothing special about him other than being a dragon.
Yeah.
In the X-Men, but he was just always there. I mean, he saved their asses a few times. He definitely saved, the X-Men mansion from the Brood, because he would find these nests and burn them up, right? Which gets to his powers, right? He doesn't really have any powers other than the fact that he's a dragon. You know, he's a fire-breathing dragon. He can create like puffs of smoke, which he used to like disorient, or he can like block a room, but he can still navigate throughout the room, kind of a thing. He's a telepath. He's telepathically resistant, meaning like Xavier or Jean Grey can't read his mind. However, he can understand any language spoken to him, right? But he can also speak like probably English because that's the major language.
Okay, so he can speak. That was going to be my one question. He can communicate with the X-Men.
Yes. So he can't communicate, but he can understand any language.
Wow.
Because he's emphatic. So, and also because he's emphatic, he's empathetic. He can feel the moods of other people. So I just thought it was like a cute little hidden gem because I always see this character. I don't always see it, but I see this character sitting on something, doing something, but, you know, he's kind of like a little badass. He's like a chihuahua or like a little terrier or something, but classified as a pet in the X-Men kind of a thing. There's even been comics or series where all the pets of, you know, the X-Men get together. And he was part of that, you know, Lockjaw from the Inhumans. Yep. Somebody else there's a Thor cat or some crazy thing. Anyway.
There's Thor goats, too.
Thor goats. Okay.
Well, you've seen Thor Love and Thunder, unfortunately, right? Remember the Screaming Goats?
Okay. Enough of that. So, I just thought that, you know, when we're going through all these characters, there's so many characters. And I'm not trying to compare him like to like a Commissioner Gordon, but there are characters that's in the background. So you got Batman and you got Gordon in the background. Yeah. And these background characters are part of the makeup of these primary characters. Right. In this case, Lockjaw is in the background and is part of the makeup of a forefront character like Kitty or Shadowcat. So, and I just see him all over the place. He's been in comics, different comics. He's been in TV shows, things like that. And I just thought it'd be, you know, kind of a cute change up from all the other hidden gems because he does play a role in the X-Men's development.
Dude, when you sent me this, I'm like, who the fuck is that? But I have seen this character.
Exactly.
But you're right. It always just looked as like a sideline character. Like, who is this dude? He's just kind of here. He's somebody's dragon, you know, but I didn't know all of that. Now, I did read that Lockheed was in the New Mutants movie. I've never seen New Mutants.
He has been, he's part of the X-Men. Yeah. He was part of Excalibur, the whole Excalibur Corps, right? He's part of the New Mutants. So he's been around. Okay. He's popped around. He's met other dragons like him, so on and so forth. So there's been that whole thing. So there's a little history to him. Obviously, it's not a lot, not like a Cyclops lot, but, you know, he's there. And so he's done some things.
Have you seen the New Mutants?
I saw it, like a version of it a while ago. I don't remember the content of it.
Yeah, I've never seen it, and I don't even remember if it got good reviews. I mean, it's probably better than Zack Snyder's Justice League, most likely.
I'm sure.
Right. I mean, it's a good chance anyways. Yeah. You know, maybe if I get around to it, I'll watch it this week and let you know next week. I'll agree to disagree. But I see a little I seen a little clip in it, and he's like a mini dragon in this, I guess. And he's I don't know what character this is, but it's Anna Joy Taylor, whatever her name is. She plays, her eyes are kind of lit up. But I've never seen this. Is he like a small dragon, or is he?
He's literally cat-sized.
Oh, okay.
He spends a lot of his time on Kitty's shoulder. Just to show you. He was also in Secret Wars too. He got transported to Battle World. Yeah. So
didn't he like meet another dragon or some shit?
Met another dragon who got Godzilla size and started terrorizing stuff, and then I think that dragon liked Lockheed. Lockheed rejected her, so she kind of went away. All this stuff. So there's a little drama behind it.
Lockheed's got some riz, as you've learned here on Only Comics. Yo, actually, one of our fans, because remember, I was doing my best to explain to you what riz was. Right. I didn't know the word. It's a slang word that comes from charisma. Charisma. Okay. Riz. So I was like, okay.
Charisma sounds so much better, though. I'm just saying.
We'll say that to all the little middle schoolers and high schoolers now.
Right, right. What is charisma?
Yeah, exactly. But it ain't about Riz.
Yep.
A Lockheed, this is a cool one. This was, when you sent me that little picture, I'm like, what? I didn't even click on it. I'm like, I'm going to hear this right from Adrian because this is, but then when you're going through, I'm like, I do remember seeing him.
Yeah,
That's just this little pet.
Exactly.
Like,
so literally a hidden gem in plain sight kind of a deal.
Yeah, and now I want to go check out that new Mutants movie just to see, how good or bad it is. But that came out in 2020, so it's probably why no one ever heard of it because COVID and all that shit. All the movies suffered. Came out in 2020. It was directed by Josh Boone. It was based on the New Mutants by Chris Claremont. So it was based on some good source material. Anna Taylor-Joy, handful of other people. I wonder what it got rated. But you said
the one where they were in. It's like dark. It was one movie, right?
It was one movie. Yep. No.
What was the movie where the girl from
Queen's Gambit?
No, I want to say Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
Not Dungeons and Dragons, but oh my God, the White Walkers.
I never seen it.
No. It's the movie with the White Walkers in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm drawing a blank.
Me too.
We're moving on.
Well, hey, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 36%, so I think that kind of sums up. Yeah. Now, not that they're always right, but they're usually pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, and then an average rating of 4.8 out of 10. So it's probably one of those bad movies,
Game of Thrones. What was the girl, the little sister that went away and became an assassin?
I never watched Game of Thrones, believe it or not.
Ooh. You said that on TV.
I did. I admit that I've never seen it. And I just watched Breaking Bad like last week for the first time. So, and then it has nothing to do with only comics, but that last episode fucking sucked. It was one of the worst endings. Like, you know how I said we got Batman and we got Superman? Mm-hmm. We got the Sopranos ending and we got the Breaking Bad ending. There you have it.
So the Breaking Bad ending was a year too long, just like the Game of Thrones ending.
Okay.
Horrible.
Wow.
Was a year too long. They should have just ended it the season before, and it would have wrapped up nicely. I feel so. If you felt about the Breaking Bad ending the way I felt about Game of Thrones ending, I'm with you.
There you go. Well, I mean, the villain sucked. Like, in order to have, one of the reasons why Batman is so great is he's got some great villains, or vice versa.
Right.
We were talking about Giancarlo Esposito earlier. Mr. Fring was a badass villain.
Right.
Then you had this new guy, John, whatever the fuck his name is, Todd's uncle, like this redneck. Like, come on. He's the one that took out Walt. He really. We had Mr. Fring, Batman-esque.
Right.
And then we got Jack, who's like, not even Superman. He's like Superboy, you know? Right. I mean, come on. What does that have to do with comics? Nothing. Outside of the fact that Giancarlo Esposito wants to play Professor Xavier. So that's how it all connects. It's like the multiverse, All right.
I'm still chewing on that one. Definitely not Denzel playing Magneto.
Oh, well, you wait till we get to agree to disagree.
Dude, I can't. Even though they are portraying Magneto like older now, which I don't like. Also want to kind of we'll get into it, but so Magneto is the only character that they haven't kind of repurposed his early life, right? So he's always started back at the Holocaust, which makes him very, very old today.
Correct.
Right? Which I'm assuming is why they're playing him as a older actor. Everybody else, they reinvented his youth. Peter Parker, that kind of stuff. True. So he's like the only one that they haven't shifted up his birth kind of a deal. Yeah,
because you almost have to do that then for the MCU, right? If you're going to bring it would be very odd to have a Holocaust survivor being the main villain and not be 80 years old.
Right. And he's not immortal.
Correct.
So he's an old dude today.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of interesting.
I mean, you could have Denzel and play it off of like a civil rights movement type deal versus the Holocaust. I mean, it's different.
Right.
But it's still oppressed people and people are still going to act two different ways, right? You're going to have Xavier, the more peaceful, and Magneto, the more like, I'm trying to kill everyone.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I think that if they did that, I think it'd be kind of an uproar.
Yeah.
Over that whole transition. Because you're right, they would have to reset.
But even that, civil rights time, we're talking, 60s?
Right.
So it'd still make him pretty old.
Right.
You'd have to get very creative with the origin story. But
I don't know why these dudes, like even Bruce Wayne, I mean, with all the money and all the tech and stuff, why don't he, and he finds all this stuff, right? But he doesn't find like a youth serum. I mean, it's like he wants to age out, and he ages out well.
Right.
But he's so arrogant. Why didn't he find like a youth serum or something, or another pool of water that he can go soak in,
well,
if
they did that, dude, how could they have Michael Keaton play him? That's the problem.
You got a point there.
Or how would they bring George Clooney back? If he didn't age. All right.
How about a younger actor?
Oh, no shit. Wow. That's What a
the
thought.
Things that make you go.
Correct.
If anybody remembers that, I'm sure nobody does.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. All right, Adrian, I think we'll do something for the first time here.
What's that?
I got a little X-Men preview that I think I'm gonna play, and we'll do a little watch along.
Okay.
Got some Sentinels going on here. I like that Rogue's actually powerful.
Heads up!
You've always said this too about the comic or the animated, where the powers can look better than on screen because they're drawn right, and I really like the way that shit looks here.
Greetings, enemy mine. Might I induce you to a change of heart?
Old classic Beast voice
Louis,
there.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful involuntary friendship.
Your boy Bishop, which you can learn about on Hidden Gems, right? And do you like the Bishop with the shorter hair? I like the longer hair.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I mean, it's not a bad character model.
That was badass.
Right?
I like that.
I'm ready for it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the artwork. I like the fighting styles. I agree with you that Rogue is pretty badass up in there. So yeah, I'm feeling that.
And I'm a big fan of the Sentinel stories.
Oh yeah.
Like even we past few weeks I've been recommending X-Men animated series episodes. I would say for this last week to get ready for the debut of X-Men 97, check out the first 2 episodes, Night of the Sentinels 1 and 2. That kind of gives you a background of like Jubilee joining the X-Men. It really introduces you to most of the characters. And you can, if you watch that and you've seen the Fox X-Men movies, you'll know that the storyline they had for Rogue in the Fox X-Men movies, I felt like they drew from this Jubilee story. Okay. Because in X-Men animated series, Jubilee is like that sidekick to Wolverine. He becomes like her protector, her big brother, if you will.
Right.
So I'd watch those 2 and then watch the last episode, the graduation day, because that is the X-Men 97 picks up right from that. So those are my 3 for this week. I won't do a whole deep dive in that because we got a lot of other stuff planned for today. But dude, seeing that, because that's one thing that I don't want to say I was nervous about, but I was very curious because X-Men animated series was over 30 years ago. Right. And the one downfall, which is what you struggled with even trying to watch it, is how it looks because it's 30 years old. Yeah. At the time, it was great, but it was 30 years old. Right. Just like we're not going to go watch that old Thor with the bear suit or, the old Spiderman. And we're not reviewing Adam West Batman here for a reason.
Lou Ferrigno's whole.
yeah, like exactly. So they all kind of, but from a storyline perspective, they did what they could at the time. But now with the technology, I was very curious to see how, because I didn't want them to change too much because I love the look. Right. But it just, it's smooth. It's, I love a lot of like the camera shake effects, the powers that you get to see. It's looks like it's done right. Yeah. So I'm excited for this too.
Yeah, me too. I'm surprised by the my big thing is artwork, right? And I'm surprised at how well that they've done that.
Correct.
In the action scenes aren't choppy, things like that. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah. So there you have it. 2 episodes drops in a couple days. We'll be reviewing those next week. But right now we have a segment that we call Agree to Disagree, Adrian.
All right, let's do it.
And we've learned that in life, not everyone can agree to disagree. Some people get offended. Some people they have this condition that's called butthurt. And we've heard of this before. Yes. We've seen it in person. We've seen it in real life. So hopefully that doesn't happen. It's never happened between me and you because
No.
Would you say we're just more mature, maybe?
Maybe.
I think so. But I also know that if Adrian disagrees with me, that's okay. It's not going to ruin my life. Matter of fact, I think that's one of the best things about doing a podcast is to get another perspective.
Exactly.
So when we're done with our agree to disagree, you all sound off in the comments like you always do. Matter of fact, because of this segment we created, we respond.
There you go.
So which we will do later. All right, I got 10 for you today, Adrian.
Right.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. And I got some hard hitters today. I'm keeping you on your toes, okay?
All right.
I even have some things, Adrian, believe it or not, that are contradictory to what I've said in the past.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
And guess what? I might change my mind
Oh,
on some things.
okay.
As well. Who knows?
Who knows? Because we're not set in stone. We're like set in sand here, right?
A little Cleo mystery there.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Ready.
Number 1, Robert Downey Jr., Toby Maguire, and Hugh Jackman should all return for Secret Wars.
Disagree.
Sony should be banned from making Marvel movies.
Agree.
Batman should not kill.
Agree.
Forrest Gump is better than Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Agree.
Venom is better as a villain.
Agree.
X-Men 97 will be better than Secret Invasion.
I will reserve judgment. But based on what I've seen, agree.
Right. Would you agree that that one snippet is better than Secret Invasion?
Yes.
Here we go. Brace yourself.
Yep.
Giancarlo Esposito and Denzel Washington would make a perfect Professor Xavier and Magneto.
Disagree.
Dark Phoenix would solo the Justice League.
Agree.
I'm just laughing because I know it's going to come with that. Have you done any research about the Justice League? Shut up.
Right.
Spider-Man would beat Iron Man.
Agree.
Toby Maguire should get another Spider-Man movie.
Disagree.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's all 10. We have some disagrees in there. Let's pick out one. Let's pick out one to discuss real quick. We already talked about the Giancarlo and Denzel.
Yep.
Let's go with the Toby Maguire should get another Spider-Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you asked me this 5 years ago, I'd say no.
Mm-hmm.
After seeing him in No Way Home and seeing how well that was handled, and the fact that some of his villains were the main villains in that movie, just shows how well that whole universe was created. I'd love to see an older Spider-Man portrayed by Toby Maguire, not attached to the MCU, just kind of in his own universe.
On that, I can agree.
Okay.
A different timeline.
Yeah.
An alternate Earth. A different dimension. Something other than what's currently happening.
Got it.
Because it would be confusing. That's why I disagree.
Okay, so you don't want to see him in the MCU with his own movie.
No.
But if he continued as, Sony, actually don't let Sony do it. Just
Right.
maybe let Marvel handle it. It's just not in the MCU because Sony can't be trusted.
Right.
It's like that. It's like you're running a convenience store and these kids come in and steal every day. You just got to ban them from the store. They can't be trusted anymore.
Exactly.
That's what Sony is now. They're the kids stealing from the convenience store because they don't deserve to have the Spider-Man license.
Sony, you're a klepto.
I mean, dude, with things like I actually think I might go see Madam Web, dude. I might, just because my daughter wants to see it. So
okay.
I may check it out.
Sure.
And then it will allow me to shit on it,
From a first-hand perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's interesting is my grandson has zero interest in any of this stuff, so I don't have to have a
There
reason
you
to
go. Good. Yeah, I'm not
But
surprised.
if you do go, then I'll have to go.
Okay.
So we can discuss it. So let me know.
I'll let you know, and then we'll do a Madam Web review.
Adam Webb. Yeah.
So, anyway, all right, moving on. That was agree to disagree. Now let's get into, and this was a fan idea, right? So we're very interactive here.
Sure.
We're probably the most interactive comic podcast out there, I believe. So fans, they comment a lot. They suggest some things. Some of it we just straight up delete and act like we didn't see because not every suggestion is a good one.
Right.
Like, that's it. Not every idea is a good one.
Right.
But I forget who did this. So if you did this, feel free to shout yourself out in the comments. But last week we had a fan suggest that we do an Omega level mutant series.
Yeah.
Well, they suggested that we had some Omega level mutants in the Hidden Gem.
Yep.
But we said, let's collab with this fan. Let's come up with an idea together. Let's do a separate series about Omega level mutants.
Okay.
So I looked it up. I think there's like somewhere around 20 Omega level mutants. And we decided to go with Magneto this week You know, I guess in the spirit of X-Men 97 being released. And in X-Men 97, we've learned that Magneto is going to be the leader of X-Men, which is something I am all for. I've said that on Agree to Disagree in the past. I think Magneto is a better X-Men leader than Charles Xavier. You're pondering.
He's not necessarily better, but definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it.
Oh, he's
way.
Different. All right.
He's definitely different.
Well, I guess we'll find out, at least in the X-Men animated series universe, if he's the better leader or not. Because we've saw 5 seasons of Charles Xavier leading them, and now Magneto.
However, I do. If I had to choose one of the two, I would choose Magneto over Xavier as the leader of the X-Men. Because he's Charles is like a bad boy, but he portrays the good guy, and that doesn't always get the job done. Number one. Number two, his team has split up into so many factions. Rogue had her own team. Cyclops had his own team. And then, the core group, they have to split between those teams, which makes them weaker, all because they don't agree with, Charles's idea of, utopia when it comes to mutants. So, but Magneto, let's just get this job done. Everybody's trying to kill us for who we are. So let's just, forget all the niceties and just do what we need to do.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm for it. I'm ready.
Yep.
I'm ready to see Magneto. I mean, he's more, he's a little more militant, I guess. And he's not afraid to kill if he has to. He also views, Xavier looks at humans and mutants as equal. Magneto, for a lot of his life, looks at mutants up here and humans down here.
Right.
He calls them Homo superior.
Right.
Versus Homo sapien.
Well, I think a lot of his point of view isn't just because he's a mutant.
Right.
I think a lot of it is because he went through had such an atrocious childhood and life. So he's been treated such a way that he's like, well, I am superior to you because of this situation that you guys have forced me to be in, not necessarily because of, the fact that I have these powers.
Right.
So I think it's more a cause and effect thing as opposed to just, well, I'm just superior to you just because I'm superior to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he saw resistance and, racism and hate for 2 things, right? One, being Jewish and going through the Holocaust.
Right.
And then on top of that, oh, now you're a mutant. Now this is another class of people that are looked down because they're different. And they, because that's one thing I loved about the X-Men comics is it wasn't like, every other superhero where they have powers and they're worshipped. They were looked down on because of these mutations.
Right.
And the same people that were saving these humans are the same ones that a lot of the humans looked down on, didn't want anything to do with. So it was very, very conflicted story. Like it was a lot deeper than just, Superman flying around and saving the world.
Right.
So no offense.
I mean, it was like, and it wasn't just hate. I mean, they were trying to kill him because he was Jewish, and they were trying to kill him because he was a mutant.
Right.
So, I mean, he went through some stuff. I mean, just as a child going through the Holocaust, I mean, that was traumatic enough. But then now you're trying to, they're trying to wipe you out, not only because of that,
right,
but because now you've been discovered to be this other thing as well. So, yeah, I mean, there would probably be some hate in me too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Magneto was created back in the 60s. He actually first appeared in the first X-Men issue, which that X-Men 1 is the one on the cover. You got Iceman on it. They're wearing those just blue kind of like sweatsuits with the yellow, almost like a yellow vest over it. Right. But you see Magneto. You kind of see the backside of him on this cover with the magnetic field around him. And, dude, that comic, I think, sells for thousands, by the way. So if you ever get your hand on that, dude, cop it.
Dude, I got to go through I've been thinking about this. I got to go through my comics. I mean, I've got this giant box of comics. Probably, I think I forget what the number is. Somewhere between, I don't know, a couple of hundred to 1,000.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them things in a decade.
Damn.
So I got to go through.
You go through them and do a comic book hidden gem series. You're bringing a different comic once a week. But yeah, if you have this one though, don't get rid of it. Sell it. Right. So he goes back to he's original X-Men villain. And they kind of went back and fleshed out his origin a little bit down the road. Mm-hmm. But as you kind of alluded to, he's was born to a middle-class German-Jewish family, was born Max Eisenhardt was actually his name. His dad was a World War II veteran. But long story short, Holocaust taking place. His family, they were leaving, they fled to Poland, and they were captured during the German invasion of Poland. It was brought to a concentration camp. And this is, there's so many different variants of this story. I always go to, we've seen it in comics, but we've also seen it in movies. Right. So, the first X-Men movie shows a little bit of his backstory. Right. Yeah, I love that scene where he's in, I think, Auschwitz or whatever. I'm probably saying that wrong, but where they're pulling his parents away. Right. And they're kind of bringing him in, and you see his powers for the first time. He got the gate closing, and then the gate, and then I think it cuts, and you get credits, and the movie kicks off. But you see him kind of get his powers at a young age there.
Well, it's typically something traumatic that activates, these powers. Like we did a review on Iceman, which is also an Omega level mutant. Right. We did that right before we started this new thing. But, his power activation was a traumatic thing. Mm-hmm. He's out with a girlfriend or something. So it's always something traumatic or dramatic that activates these powers. Yeah.
So, and then I think in the comics, I think they all were killed, thrown into a mass grave, but then Magneto survived because of his mutation. So a little bit different. But then he's a character that, I do like the Fox X-Men movies. Obviously, at the time they were great, but then they've now been superseded by the MCU. But we've seen a lot of this origin in different movies, even some bad movies. He meets this girl Magda, right, when he's young. Right. And I guess when he's really young, he falls in love with her. Then they separate, and they kind of reconnect after this whole concentration camp escape or whatnot.
No, I think they got put in the same concentration camp because they broke out of it.
Got it. Together. Okay. Yeah, she's a Romani girl. Basically, they have kids. They have a kid together, right? Anaya. Right. And they're living somewhere in Ukraine. And somehow some angry mob finds out about Magneto's powers, which we see in, I want to say it's X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, I think it is, and because he's working at a factory or something, and he prevents some guy from being crushed. Yep. And everybody's looking at him. Which I think is kind of a fault of his, right? Because at his level, he should have been able to fake that to where he just kind of moved that 300-ton whatever that was off to the side without even flinching.
Hey, that's some shit. That's just people for you, right? Right. My man's about to die because he can't do his job right because somebody hired him and they shouldn't have. And then, Eric over here is like, hold on, dude. All right, you're saved. And now they're like, we're going to go burn your house down. What, you try to do something nice for someone.
Well, it's not even they burnt the house down. They sent the cops. So they convinced.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in the movie was the cops.
The police to come to his house to collect him, which is even crazy.
Unbelievable.
It's we don't know what really happened, but maybe this happened. So let me convince you that didn't even see the incident to go and kill this dude. Right. That's crazy.
And we're talking at a time where, at least in Marvel universe, mutants were still just being discovered. It wasn't like they were out there, but human nature, people fear what they don't understand, right? So this dude's got powers. All of a sudden they think he's going to go kill everyone or whatever. So what do you do in that? You call the cops, and the cops, they go kill the people for you. A lot of times.
Is that fear more about what you think that the person is going to do, or is it more about I feel less than because you have something that I don't?
Probably that.
Which is typically has happened throughout history.
Oh, yeah. It's probably more that one, So I believe they set their house on fire. Right, and his daughter's in there.
Right, in this version.
Yep. His daughter's killed. But in the movie, they also kill the daughter too. I forget how. But basically, this sends Magneto over the edge, and then he kind of wipes everybody out.
Well, they set the house on fire, I think, and she got caught up in the fire. She got burnt up in the fire, which in the comics they actually show this smoldering body.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty bad, pretty graphic.
Damn. So they burn the house down with Anaya still in there,
Right.
and then his powers are unleashed. He kills the mob, destroys part of the city, and this is basically where Eric now becomes Magneto.
Right.
He's kind of like, dude, fuck the dumb shit. I'm tired. I'm gonna start killing all you motherfuckers. Like, but then he meets Charles Xavier in Israel. Right, Charles is over there. I don't know, on some peace mission or something, or was he? I think he was studying something, right?
I'm sure he was.
I mean, he's always studying, so who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But he meets Xavier there, and then they start working together. And this is another thing where there's been different variations of this. I really like the version that we saw in X-Men First Class, and I like their dynamic in those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone did say that X-Men First Class was better than Logan, and I was like, I might have to block you. I'm just kidding. But I did enjoy that movie for what it was. I mean, we got to see you always bring up the Hellfire Club. We got to see a variation of them in there with Sebastian Shaw. Right. Your boy Kevin Bacon played Sebastian.
Okay. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job, dude. And they did a new kind of origin of Magneto's helmet, because if you remember in that movie, Sebastian Shaw used that to prevent Xavier's attack, and also I think he needed it. He would go in that room and I don't know, he had this like cube of power or whatever, and he needed the helmet there too as well. But anyways, Magneto takes it from him at the end when he kills him.
Right.
And they did a backstory where Sebastian Shaw's character was like basically a Nazi. So he was kind of getting back at him for things he did. Right. Like when he takes the coin and like makes it go right through the dude's head.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That was crazy.
Yes.
But Sebastian Shaw though is a buff dude. I mean, because people that don't know Sebastian Shaw, Kevin Bacon did a great job playing Sebastian Shaw. And I thought he was pretty cool too. But he's a big dude because his power is he absorbs kinetic and magical energy, which makes him stronger.
Right.
So, I mean, and he can like bend Wolverine's adamantium, in his body and stuff. So he's a pretty badass dude. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he was, dude. And I thought that was great for that movie. Yeah. As him as the first villain. So we kind of see some of these like comic origins tied, they're brought into that movie. But basically, whatever variation you're reading, Eric and Charles are friends. Right. They start working together. And Xavier quickly realizes that their ideologies just don't match up.
Sure.
Charles is like, let's save the world. I mean, and I heard Stan Lee say this in an interview years ago. It was actually an X-Men animated series interview where he talked about the two characters, and he compared Charles Xavier to Martin Luther King and Magneto to Malcolm X in the way that they were both essentially fighting the same fight, but very different approaches.
It's interesting that they, and I'm just thinking about this now, it's interesting that they built these characters off of two black people, but they made them white.
Right.
I'm just.
Well, I think initially they weren't, because this was they were created in the 60s.
Right.
But when the animated series rolled around in the 90s, they were comparing them more to these individuals. So initially there was some Jewish. I don't even know what to call him, but there was some individual that was part of the Holocaust, a survivor, who they did base Magneto on. But as they changed origins, but he compared them more to those two, which, I mean, I think that's a great analogy,
right,
with what we've seen, but also why I'd take Magneto over Xavier.
Right. Which, actually, they probably didn't make him black because they probably thought it wouldn't have sold.
Yeah.
Which, if they make this guy, Carlos guy, Xavier and Denzel, Magneto, it would make sense.
Yeah.
Based off of those histories.
Right. So you're coming full circle now. Look at that.
I'm not there yet.
Not yet.
But
right. We're getting there.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
We're not moving. I'm still sitting in one position. I'm not moving.
Okay. You still disagree. You're not switching your answer yet.
Correct. Okay. I still disagree.
Man, we're gonna take some work to get this done.
Hey, dude, they got me. They got me. Like Chappelle said, they got me. I mean, 40 years of watching these comics, it's kind of hard to just switch over.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we're not, I'm assuming you're a fan of Denzel. You're not saying like these guys can't play that, but it's just because of how long you've seen these characters as they are in your mind, based off the comics and every other iteration.
That's why I have specific criteria about these characters, and that's why I say certain actors shouldn't play certain characters, and certain characters they need to find their mojo.
Yeah.
Like the kid that played Quicksilver, right? The first one.
Yep.
The one that got killed off.
Oh yeah, the MCU one.
Him playing Kraven, I think, will be his thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just in the advertisement, I'm like excited to go see this movie.
Right.
So
let's just hope that this Spider-Man villain at some point does actually fight Spider-Man. I know it's a crazy concept, but
I don't get how you can pull a character out and not have them fight the people that they are. The only reason they exist, like Black Adam, the only reason you exist is to fight Superman.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
But you at least Superman had a cameo at the end of Black Adam.
Exactly.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Spider-Man didn't have a cameo in Madam Web at all.
Nope. Nope.
Or Venom at all.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Dude.
Crazy.
It'd be like you remember the Looney Tunes?
Yeah.
Remember Roadrunner?
Yeah.
Beep beep.
Yeah.
Imagine him running around without Coyote chasing him.
Yep, exactly.
Like
or Elmer Fudd and the Rooster. I mean, come on.
Yeah, or Sylvester and Tweety. I mean, all of a sudden, Sylvester's now, I don't know, he's just eating cat food and taking a nap. Like, no one cares unless he's trying to get to Tweety Bird.
Right. Tom and Jerry. I mean.
There you go. So, man,
anyway,
we're just showing our depth of knowledge here of, cartoons.
Hey.
So, anyway. But, yeah, so, Charles Xavier, Magneto, they really become adversaries. And I love that they always refer to each other as old friend.
Right.
Like, it just adds a layer of depth because they're not just adversaries. They were friends at one point.
Right.
We see a lot of times in the comics and in the movies where they're here and then they work together a little bit and they're,
right.
I mean, X2 is a perfect example.
Right.
Stryker, he breaks into the X-Men mansion, kidnaps Xavier, the whole deal, builds his own Cerebro. He's trying to kill all the mutants. Magneto is fighting with the X-Men to save Xavier and to stop Stryker, although he has his own little scheme where he's trying to kill all the humans.
Right.
So, like, it's funny, too, how he'll still kind of trick Xavier because Xavier will do his best to not read Magneto's mind out of respect, I guess,
Right.
But
ends up screwing him.
Exactly. But I love their dynamic back and forth throughout the comics and the movies.
Right. It's like Reed Richards and Dr.
Doom, yes.
Right?
Yep.
They have the same thing. They'll fight together as long as both of their agendas are being served. But
Correct.
Doom always has like a second agenda, and he's always going off on his thing and typically screws, the Fantastic Four in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Matt, anything else on Magneto's early? I know you got some notes over there.
No, we beat his early life to death. I mean, basically, he went through a bunch of traumatic stuff, both as a Jewish character and a mutant. His family got torn apart, which is a third level of trauma on top of him. So now he's all about, in his mind, he's compartmentalized his agenda based off of all of that stuff. So yeah.
And then I'm confused about the Quicksilver Scarlet Witch father, daughter, son, not like at one point they were, and then I think they even retconned to say that they biologically are not. Like,
right.
What is your understanding of their relationship?
So, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were born to a couple, gypsies.
Yeah.
And they grew up. And your boy, High Evolutionary, kidnapped him.
Right.
Took him up to Wundagore, which is a mountaintop thing, and kind of raised them. He
experimented on him.
He experimented on them. He experimented on a lot of things because their nanny was a cow that the High Evolutionary had evolved into like a nanny, right? So he experimented on them, which is how they got their powers. Either he gave them the powers or he activated a latent mutant gene in them. Either way.
Yep.
So at some point, for whatever reason, he was done with them, and he brought them back to the not the Rasputins. He brought them back to another set of parents.
Okay.
Right. And then they raised them. Another whole mutant, non-mutant war kind of a thing. The parents got killed, I believe. The kids escaped. And because of that trauma, they kind of forgot who their parents were.
Got it.
So they spent years traveling all over the country, eating off the land, things like that, until they came into the purview of Magneto. And that's how it kind of like gets blurred, where they kind of think that Magneto was their father. So that's how all that stuff came about. And it depends on who writes the characters.
Yeah, because I do feel like there was a point where they're actually Magneto was their biological father in the comics.
Right.
And
even in the movie, when Quicksilver was he left to go find Magneto. He went. The reason that he was at the mansion when the mansion was blowing up, and he saved everybody because he was going to try to find his father.
That's right.
So yeah,
because and that was I think Apocalypse maybe when they blew up the mansion.
Probably.
I think so. But what we saw in Days of Future Past, where he saved them from the Pentagon, and he made a comment like, "My mom used to date some guy who could control so he so they kind of teased it there.
Like how many guys control magnetism?
Exactly. Like, wait a minute.
Some guy that can control
Yeah, whatever. It's like, wait a minute, dude. But yeah, I do remember that. He was, because he never brought it up to him, so he wanted to.
Right.
So he heads back, and he just happens to be right as it's blowing up, which really cool scene.
Yep.
But yeah, and I was just reading in 2014 is when they kind of retconned it. So Access crossover, retcon the character's parentage again, revealing Magneto was not her bio. So basically for 32 years, we all thought he was, and then they just decided to change it. So
there was even a point where Wanda had a child, and they show Magneto holding his grandchild.
Yeah.
So it went deep.
Right.
But I think even then they were contemplating whether or not he was actually their father or not. But regardless, they had some emotional ties to him.
Right.
Because he basically trained them at an early age.
Yeah.
But they didn't agree with his train of thought, his agenda, and so they kind of pulled away from him.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of traumatic stuff going on.
Because they were, I think, two of the first Brotherhood of Mutant members in the comics, like them, Toad, and a hand, but they were like day one recruits. So they pretty much raised them as mutants.
Right.
And we've obviously not seen Magneto in the MCU yet, but if you remember Quicksilver or Wanda and Petro's introduction in Age of Ultron kind of took them in almost as like the same way Magneto did in the comics.
But all these guys, what they do is they see a value in a power that they can utilize.
Correct.
Which is why they kind of like take him in, because Ultron hates every human.
Right.
He has zero agenda for any human, even though even though he tried to make what's her face, Pym, the wife of Henry Pym. He tried
Vulcan,
to make Jocasta,
right? Jocasta, there
out of Van Dyne.
Right.
So he has zero use for humans, but he's always around them.
Exactly. But they also kind of pushed back towards the end. They realized we're not really down with what Ultron wants to do.
Exactly.
But when you said that about a Magneto, it reminds me of that same arc, right, which we saw here. But I would let me ask you this: if they're going to bring Magneto into the MCU at some point, would you prefer that Magneto is the biological parent of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, or do you prefer the new version where he's not in the MCU? What would you like to see?
I guess it makes an interesting dynamic, but so we do know that what didn't change was the High Evolutionary experimented on them.
Right.
So it doesn't matter, because you would think that, well, being Magneto's kids, he's obviously going to have, mutant offsprings, or not, because there's been times where mutants have children and they aren't mutants, right?
True.
So either way, it could explain their powers, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. But the fact that they did not take out the High Evolutionary component, meaning that he could have given them their powers, it kind of doesn't matter. I think it'd be cooler if he was. So I'm good either way.
Yeah. Because in the MCU, it wasn't High Evolutionary. I forget the name of the guy, but if you remember, there was an end credit scene, I think it was Winter Soldier, where you see they have Loki's scepter, and the guy's using that to kind of experiment on Wanda and Pietro. Right. And you see them kind of, their powers being amplified a little bit. But then in WandaVision, if you remember the flashback scene when their house is being bombed.
Okay.
And there's a Tony Stark bomb there that Wanda basically diffuses with her powers at the time, but she doesn't know it. She thought that, hey, it just never went off for some reason. But then so basically they confirmed that she had powers since a child, but then this experiment with the scepter, I guess, amplified them. I don't know if you remember that scene or not.
I don't, but even so, they still got kidnapped as a child, as children.
Yep.
They were raised for some period of time in Wundagore, so the High Evolutionary had plenty of time to unlock, or enhance, or whatever. And then the scepter thing, I think, happened after that.
Okay.
So
you're saying they could still, they could still add that in. They could still say that.
Correct.
Yeah, which that would be cool because I wouldn't mind seeing High Evolutionary again in the MCU.
Sure.
He was a good villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like oxymoron, right? It's a good villain.
That's okay.
Yeah, they know what I mean. So yeah, I mean that, and then one of Magneto's early, and we've seen this in several different ways. He has a thing for like controlling missiles and trying to attack the U.S. But that was like the first big like fight between him and Xavier. He had some missiles he was trying to, send over to the U.S. or whatnot. But in X-Men First Class, it took place in the middle of the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was a cool scene where you got the missiles up in the air, and Magneto's holding all of them.
Right.
So like. Magneto's powers, we're talking about Omega level power.
Yep.
And Omega level power essentially means that you can't measure his power. There's no cap to it, right?
Correct.
No measurable cap.
Correct.
So let's talk about some of his biggest feats of power, right? I look at in Days of Future Past, so I'm going, live action right now.
Yep.
When he moves the entire baseball stadium and drops it around like the White House or whatnot, dude, that was a badass scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's up there. We've talked about the one in the comics where he removes Wolverine's adamantium from his bones.
Yep.
I mean, what are some that I've not mentioned that you're like, dude, this is why he's Omega?
Using an aircraft carrier as a bullet. Being able to, I mean, we're talking millions of tons or thousands of tons of stuff. Destroying the Sentinel, made completely out of adamantium. Going up against Nimrod. Nimrod is the future version of a Sentinel.
Yes.
He's made completely out of adamantium. No problem with him.
Yeah.
Being able to resist Phoenix's blast, Cyclops blast, which basically destroys things on a subatomic level.
Yeah.
Being able to stop Mjolnir in mid-flight. Being able to
wait. He stopped Millionaire in mid-flight.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yep. Being able to detain Thor, being able to detain Hercules, being able to affect the 5 milligrams of iron in your body, which isn't a lot, obviously,
right.
But you can cause heart attacks, seizures. Just like we did Iceman as a hidden gem, and we did the Invisible Woman as a hidden gem. They all have that ability to go inside the body at a distance, right?
Yeah.
And affect things that's not directly attached to him. Like Iceman, he doesn't need to send an icicle from his hands down to the ground, to your feet, up into your body. He can affect things remote from him. Invisible Woman, they can affect things remote from them. Magneto, he can affect things remote from him. So destroying you from inside out, basically, with very little metal. He can control anything that has magnetism related to it, any kind of metal.
Yeah.
Iron, steel, adamantium, titanium, vibranium even. So, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Juggernaut, he can resist him. What's some other stuff? This is all barrier stuff. Just him projecting his magnetic barrier.
Yeah.
It protects him in space. He can actually surround himself with a barrier that allows him to fly through space.
He can levitate.
Yep, he can levitate. A lot of people think that he wears these bands or he has metal on him.
Like he's lifting the metal.
Right. So he's like lifting and moving the metal. No, he can do that without it. he moves himself along magnetic lines, and so that's how he moves about.
Yeah.
His ability is actually compared to the Phoenix Force. It's one of the 4 fundamental forces in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So which is why he can protect himself against the full brunt of Dark Phoenix,
Right.
which is just awesome in itself.
Yes.
He can extend his barrier. I mean, and also people can't teleport inside of his barriers without injury to themselves.
So like Nightcrawler, for example, couldn't just inside the barrier.
Exactly. I'm not saying that he couldn't.
Yeah.
But he would be severely injured if he did.
Wouldn't be the same as him popping in the studio right
exactly.
now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Imagine that, dude. He popped in right there.
Oh, that'd be awesome, dude. So, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff going on, even just from the barrier. Also, he keeps this barrier up to a degree 24/7.
Really?
Yeah. It's not like he, only brings it up when he senses some danger. He has gotten to the point where he keeps that up all the time, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which is what people should be doing.
Exactly. And the more you talk about his powers, the more I say that in live action, they neutered the hell out of Magneto.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I think about the animated series and all these things you're talking about, these, this, whatever, magnetic fields that he puts up, he does deflect Cyclops' optic blast in the animated series.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that you see him doing there that, like in live action, like I've seen him get hit with Cyclops blast in live action. Like, how does that ever happen to Magneto?
Right.
It shouldn't.
Well, he can be affected if he's exhausted. So that's his greatest weakness, exhaustion.
Got it.
So
Okay.
if he's overly tired, because there's been live action where the Beast, I think Nightcrawler teleports him, the Beast near him, and he comes up behind him, stabs him with some needles or something like that.
Oh yeah, the Cure.
Yeah. So he can be affected, and he can be caught off guard if he's mentally drained.
Got it.
But direct strikes from the Hulk. I mean, he can direct strikes from Dr. Doom, the Ghost Riders, Hellfire. I mean, that barrier protects him from all of that stuff, dude.
So now that barrier is a magnetic field, right?
Correct.
So how does the magnetic field stop somebody's arm that's not metal?
I don't know, but I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't know.
That's the question we need answered.
We need the answer to that.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that he probably creates it out of something in the air. So it's actually like a solid thing as opposed to just waves of energy around.
But you did say he can basically impact the iron that we have in our blood, right? Even though it's so little, but he could. I mean, he's not going to be able to control your body like he can a Wolverine, but I'd imagine maybe slow down.
Well, he also has this thing where his mind is so developed to where, the government at one time, they went and made all these plastic helicopters and rockets and stuff. And the only thing he did was pulled out, street lamps and just shot them.
Right, there's metal everywhere.
It's crazy. His mind is so trained, even if you shot something at him, he could instantaneously put something metal in the path. Say somebody shot a plastic bullet at him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he can't deflect a plastic bullet, but his mind is so sharp and so quick, he can pull up a pipe from the ground to intercept that bullet. So with the fist going through the field, I'm assuming it's kind of like that, where he's creating. I'm sure his barrier has some magnetic properties in it that's creating a solid field around him to prevent those type of attacks. Got
it. Yeah, I mean, he is. I think I even had him on my list of favorite. Early on we did that show where we talked about our favorite characters in comics. He was up there for me. I've always loved Magneto, and I like his. I kind of like his anti-hero vibe. I like that he'll align himself with the X-Men when he needs to, but he always kind of had his own agenda. Now he's kind of turned more into the hero. There's definitely X-Men comics where he's the one leading. Again, we talked about that with X-Men 97. Can't wait to see that happen there. But yeah, the more I hear about, I hope that when Denzel Washington plays him in the MCU, Adrian, or whoever that person may be, would you rather Denzel than Tom Cruise?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Okay.
when you make it so stark, yes.
But I hope that in the MCU they don't neuter him as much. I want to see an Omega level powered Magneto on screen.
Right,
Because
absolutely.
his character has the potential. He is that in the comics. And we've seen that in the animated series. So let's now see it in live. Let's give him the and there was some. I mean, like I talked about the whole him dropping the stadium. That was a big deal. Holding up the missiles. That was another big deal. There was a scene. I think when in Apocalypse where he was brought back to Auschwitz, where he destroys it. He literally pulls like the iron from the dirt, and so we've seen it in instances, but he's been neutered a lot on screen.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this dude. I mean, so his power is not just. A lot of people think that it's tied to the Earth, but it's actually not. When he got transported to Secret Wars, one of his things was he was able to ride magnetic lines like back to Earth. So in other words, he was not only able to travel, but he was able to protect himself, and he can fly. Obviously, he can reach at least escape velocity, right? If he's pouncing around in space, and so he was able to go from wherever that was back to Earth under his own power.
Yeah,
So that alone is pretty awesome. But obviously we know him for his magnetic stuff, but his magnetic power is part of another spectrum, which is electromagnetism. Magnetism is part of electromagnetism, right? Which means that he, to a degree, he's not like he's not a Electro or a Storm or Thor, but he can absorb power from like lightning.
Yeah,
he can project EM blasts, short out electricity in people's bodies. Yeah, right. He can discharge, power from his hands. So it's not just about, the magnetic part.
Right.
Also, because he's in tune with this magnetic force, which is throughout the cosmos, he has like precognition. So he can sense like what is it? Shifts in energy patterns, magnetic shifts, dimensional rifts, heat, people. So it goes beyond just his ability to create barriers and move magnetic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another part that we've not seen in live action yet. We've only seen the ability to control metal, but we've not seen the electromagnetic pulses or anything like that. And that's something that you see a lot of in the animated series and the comics. Like, there's these little like blasts, like you're talking about, shit that comes out of his hands, but he'll send people back. Like he'll stop someone, stun them right where they're at. Right. I didn't know that they were EMP blasts, which is pretty cool. So he can't create electricity like a.
He can.
Well, he can. So he can't. Not to your point, not the level of like a Storm or a Thor. Right. But he can create whatever the hell you want to call electromagnetism and blast people. Literally stun them where they're at. So another thing that I hope that when we see this Magneto in the MCU, we get to see all of that.
Yeah. I don't think they can, because that would have to be an entire show, just Magneto powers.
Right.
It would be a whole show in and of itself. So, but a lot of people think that his helmet keeps him from being attacked psychically from like Jean Grey, Professor X, things like that. Now it's interesting that in Marvel Comics, especially in the X-Men, there's a lot of high level psychics. Specifically Jean Grey and Xavier, right?
Or Emma Frost gets left out a lot.
Emma Frost, she gets left out a lot. But this dude, it helps, right? The helmet helps, but he's trained his mind to the point where even in his sleep, Jean Grey and Xavier can't probe his mind. Yeah. So this dude is awesome, regardless.
Right. And I mean, he's genius level intelligence, right? Like I read that somewhere. He's up there, which is why him and Xavier got along so well, and also were at odds all the time.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they would have even crossed paths if they didn't have the same level of intellect.
Correct.
Like, how can you be good friends and just you're talking about I don't know, the fastest way to go to the store, and you over here talking about quantum physics and black holes. I don't think that would have worked out.
No, you're like, but the shortcut, dude. You turn around and around a corner, and you don't even know the street names. Like down there, you know where the speed bumps are, and the big tree next to the red house. Yep. You can take a left. Maybe it's a right, but you're talking about quantum physics and how to time travel. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Magneto, and I like his character design too. Like the costume. Yeah. Like there's some, especially my man Jim Lee when he drew Magneto, badass. Magneto's pretty jacked, dude. Yeah. Yeah. But just the cape, the mask. I really love when Magneto's drawn this way, where he's got the mask, got everything on, but you can't see his face. You just see his eyes. Right. Like that's badass. Yep. I don't really like the costume where it's a big purple, like, I don't know, fucking drape, and it's got the giant M on it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't like that one.
No, I don't either.
And I've seen some of that in X-Men 97, so I'm like, I'm hoping that maybe that's just like his loungewear, you know?
Well, it's progression. Okay. Like when in Deadpool, when he started out with a white suit, right? Yeah. And the blind chick was like, just go red or something like that, right? So maybe it's progression. Hopefully. But one of the other things people the question came up was like, what's his range, right? So, and we talk a lot about this barrier that he creates around him. Yeah. Well, his powers are like I think at one time the government was trying to track him or disable him or something, so they created these series of satellites, 37 satellites. And as soon as they went online, he detected them because he has that ability, right? Yep. And he took control over them or something, and he was going to bring all of them down onto different cities. So his range obviously extends out into space, right? From him, right? Yeah. But he also can tap into the geomagnetism of the Earth itself, which is how he destroyed Auschwitz or whatever that scene was. Yeah. In the X-Men. So his power is like Iceman. Iceman can literally encase the entire Earth or freeze everything on the entire planet. Magneto's power is at that level as well. Yeah. Wow. Now, this leads me to a reoccurring question here on Only Comics, Adrian. You know where I'm going. I know where you're going.
Would Magneto solo the Justice League?
Magneto's a savage. I would initially say no. Okay. But it's definitely possible.
Who would give him the most trouble?
I would go with yes.
A better question.
I would go with yes.
All right. Here's a better question, though. Instead of the whole black and white, would he destroy? Yeah. We know everyone would destroy that. I mean, we confirmed last week Miss Cleo would solo the Justice League. Would Joe Biden solo the Justice League? Maybe his dog.
Yeah, maybe his dog. Definitely not him.
But who would give Magneto the most trouble in the Justice League? Because I'm like, I love Batman, dude, but I mean, he just throws a bridge on top of it. Like, he's done. I mean, with all the metal. I mean, Batman's metal in his suit. He would, this whole prep time thing, Batman would have to know who Magneto is well in advance. But just straight up, they meet on the corner, they square up. He's done, I believe. Green Lantern, Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman. Of those, who's going to give Magneto the most trouble?
I would go with the Flash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just because he can't keep up with the speed, or
no? Flash is awesome. Yeah, not this Ezra Mill.
Not Ezra.
Not that bullshit. But the true Flash, the Barry Allen Flash. Yeah. I mean, I think that he could accelerate to the point where, because one of the things about Flash is that he could focus himself as energy, and I think he can actually pierce that barrier. Yeah. And once he's inside, he could actually explode himself inside of that sphere and just wipe him out. Because obviously, Magneto is at one point he gets killed. Yeah. Somebody, I forget the guy's name, but he actually puts his fist through his heart or something. And even though they have the capability to resurrect themselves, this is like when they're on some other planet, Krakoa or something like that, I believe. Yeah. And with what's her name? Aurora. She's with him. He actually dies in her arms, kind of a thing. Okay. So obviously, he's not immortal. He can be killed, And I think that's probably one of the things that could do it. Even if he puts up this barrier, I think the Flash could get through it and basically explode him from within.
Well, there you have it. See, we're not biased here. Adrian did admit that Magneto's not going to solo the Justice League.
Right.
But Miss Cleo would, obviously.
Barrier or not.
Barrier or not. But Magneto, we're big fans. I would say the last thing I'll say about Magneto is I believe that if handled properly, Magneto could be and even supersede the Thanos level villain in the MCU.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Magneto could literally destroy a planet. Literally.
And I think the character has enough depth, if written properly, could carry a massive story, a multiverse or whatever, a connected story, you know.
And he's had enough trauma, you know, being Jewish, being Jewish, being a mutant, having his family taken away from him.
Right.
He's had enough trauma to where he could actually trip over into madness.
Yeah.
I believe relatively easy.
Right.
And just go ape shit and destroy everything.
Absolutely. And the best villains, especially on screen, are villains where you understand part of their issue. You don't understand. You don't agree with maybe how their actual mission they're on. Like, you don't agree that, you know, hey, we should kill all the humans. But, like, to your point of all the trauma, you understand the shit that Magneto went through was messed up, and that's why he's the way he is, and you feel for him. But then you're like, damn, dude, but we can't kill all those people. Like, can we just meet in the middle somewhere, you know? Like, you want Xavier to be a little more aggressive. You want to kind of pull him back.
Right. I mean, even to today, and today in the comic universe, right? So, as a child, he was trying to be killed. As a mutant, he was trying to be killed.
Right.
They killed his family. Now you got the Sentinels.
Yep.
And even in the future, you got Nimrod, which is the future. So his entire existence, he's trying, you know, they're trying to wipe him out.
Right.
You probably are going to put up some defense.
Yeah. Dude, I'd love to see. I mean, we saw some of this in Days of Future Past, but I'd love to see Magneto destroy some Sentinels in live action.
Yeah.
Like them just, I mean, like we saw in that clip, the X-Men 97, right. You do see a lot of that. And matter of fact, you talked about the plastic Sentinels or whatever, the plastic helicopters and all that shit. We talked about this here a few weeks ago. There's an X-Men animated series episode where they have these plastic Sentinels, but Magneto is like literally living in a it's like a sunken battleship or shit. So it's like he's like, okay, cool. He just starts ripping up parts of the boat and like using that as like spears to destroy it. Like, hello, dude. Don't bring, you know, a knife to a gunfight. Don't bring plastic to a metal fight, okay? Exactly. With Magneto.
Just don't bring plastic, period.
Exactly.
It's a waste of time.
And just don't try to fight Magneto, actually. Let's leave it at that. Anything else on Magneto you want to hit on?
He's just an awesome character.
Yeah.
Obviously haven't been portrayed properly anywhere, I think. I'm interested in how they're going to portray him moving forward.
Yeah.
Because today, if they modernize everybody else, he's an old guy.
Right.
You know, he's at least 100 years, 90 years old, 80, 90 years old. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. If they do the Denzel thing, I'm not on board with that.
Okay.
But they would have to change the whole dynamic.
Right, his whole origin.
Right, because the people that's going to watch Magneto are us, not the kids today.
Exactly.
Because the kids, they'll be down because they don't know the history. They'll accept whatever is there, I think.
True.
But, you know, the people that understand Magneto is going to be,
Yeah.
So not only am I going to be looking at it with a critical eye from, you know, are you portraying him properly on the screen?
Right.
But now you got this whole other dynamic that you got to convince me of. So it'll be interesting, but we'll see.
Now, of the two Magneto actors we've seen so far, Ian McKellen in the original Fox series, and then, well, they're all Fox, but in the original X-Men series, and then Michael Fassbender, who I think they both did a great job.
I was going to say I like them both for what they did, but I like the Michael Fassbender one better.
Really?
If I had to choose.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. I go back and forth. Now, they're both very different Magnetos because Michael Fassbender is the younger one, so we see the whole origin. Ian McKellen is, I mean, he's been around for a long time.
Right.
So I both have their strength, but yeah, I'd probably, and I'm talking, dude, by like a few,
Right.
like bare. I'm just over. Like I'm 50. I'm probably 49-51. Go with Fassbender.
Right.
But because of the fleshed out origin, because we got to see, so it's almost not even fair. We got to see more of Magneto with that version,
Right.
And we got to see his progression. And I think, as far as like comic accurate suits, we saw more of that with Fassbender as well. We saw the purple, we saw that, the actual helmet or whatnot. Yeah. So now, would you mind if he showed back up, Fassbender?
No.
Yeah.
I would like to see him.
Yeah.
Show back up as Magneto. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure, everyone's rumored for Deadpool and Wolverine, so maybe he's rumored too. I think you're actually rumored too. I read that too. Adrian might show up. And,
right, exactly.
Yeah, Deadpool, Wolverine,
exactly.
so.
I'll play a bush or something.
You'll play a
tree stump.
There you go. Well, there you have it. Magneto, Omega level mutant. I think there's about 20 of them, so we got about 19 weeks to go. We'll break down.
Right.
Now, does DC have an equivalent to the Omega level mutant power level? Is there anything that they have that would categorize like certain amount of their characters in that realm or no?
Everybody, first of all, I was thinking as you were forming the question, I'm thinking, does DC have mutants?
I don't think they have mutants,
Right.
no.
So their Omega level people are like a variant of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
A variant, which we haven't, really seen. A variant. There's a variant of everybody in there.
Yeah.
Aquaman, all this other kind of stuff. But Omega level, one of the ones that I was going to say was Mixoplex.
Okay.
He's basically an extra dimensional character. He's Omega level. They do have them. They do have Omega levels, but there isn't like in Marvel, you have a mutant character that's Omega level.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Omega level people,
Right.
like the Beyonder, the Watcher.
Yeah.
All these sentient beings.
Right. They're
Dark
just not
Phoenix.
mutants.
Not Dark Phoenix because she's a mutant.
Yeah.
But actually, is Dark Phoenix Jean Grey?
Jean Grey is a mutant.
Dark Phoenix is a sentient that embodied Jean Grey.
Correct.
So she's not. Dark Phoenix isn't technically
Right. Technically,
mutant,
Jean
right?
Grey's
Right.
but Jean Grey is an Omega level mutant.
Correct.
With or without Phoenix.
Correct.
Yeah. Phoenix just is.
So, Omega levels, they do have them in DC.
Yeah.
They just aren't mutants.
Got
per
it.
se. Oh, one other thing about Magneto, and I forgot already as I'm saying it. But anyway, I'll get back to it.
And I was pulling up some comments for We Respond. Adrian, I found one from last week, which I couldn't remember my man's name, but it was Nate296. He's the one and he actually responded back. He said, I love the response to the Omega level challenge and appreciate the fan response and feedback. So that we're kicking off We Respond. I just kind of jumped into it.
Okay,
So I just got to dive right in,
Oh, wait a minute. I
go ahead.
found out about Magneto.
Okay.
So there was one variant writing book, whatever, where Magneto. So there's this group of people, Steve Rogers, Super Soldier. Did you know that he was actually Weapon 1?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Part of the Weapon X program. Yeah.
Right. And then Wolverine is Weapon X, number 10.
Yep.
So there's a whole group of people that's between Steve Rogers and Wolverine, right? There was some twins. They tried to clone Emma Frost, all this kind of stuff, right? Well, Magneto, they wrote that Magneto found out that mutants weren't a mutagenic variant of like an offshoot of humans, but a result of the super soldier serum. So they're not true mutants. So he got all despondent and depressed and all. And so it changed this whole view.
This is like a little offshoot or
I think it was. It was like a sideline thing I wrote.
Like a what if type
So
deal.
I'm gonna have to dig into that one. But it was just different.
Yeah.
Because they did come, but that doesn't explain Apocalypse though. Because Apocalypse was like
First
the first
mutant, right?
mutant,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know where they came up with that, but I'm gonna do a deep dive on that. Not on the show, but I'm gonna just for my own curiosity. I read that somewhere, and it was like, really?
Yeah. That reminds me of The Boys. So like, if you remember, I'm rewatching this now because the fourth season comes out in June. But in the beginning, everyone thinks that the Seven, basically any super was born with powers.
Right.
And then eventually they find out that, no, Vought International made this Compound V that they gave, these individuals when they were born, which turned them into super, which changed everyone's whole dynamic on it. Right. So that's interesting that they did a kind of a offshoot or DC calls them Elseworlds, where it's not main line, but
gotcha.
Cool. Well, there you have it. Our first Omega level mutant series with my man Magneto, Eric Lensher, Eric, whatever you want to call him, Eric something else, but we're calling him Magneto, and Denzel will be playing him soon in the theater near you, and Adrian can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, this is our last segment of the day. It's what we call We Respond. So we get a lot of fan comments, interactions on TikTok, on YouTube, and we like to take, a few minutes out each week and respond to you all. So we appreciate the feedback. We agree with some of it we don't. Some of it's great, some of it's stupid. It is what it is. Who determines that it's stupid? Me. It's our show, so we determine that. So first off, to talk about the Omega level challenge, I'll bring up my man here, Nate296. He's the one who suggested this, so good looking out, Nate. But Nate says, I love the response to the Omega level challenge and appreciate the fan response and feedback. You're welcome, Nate. That's what we do here, right? We like to make the fans happy sometimes. He said today, meaning last week, you guys mentioned some anime shows like Ghost in the Shell. So I'd love to know, do you guys watch anime, and what are some of your favorites? So do you guys watch anime? The last anime I watched was Pokemon, so no. I do not, but you do, right? So take it away, Adrian. What are some of your favorites?
Ghost in the Shell, there's different variants, 20, whatever. They have like different variants of Ghost in the Shell, so I still like that series. I still even go back to Bubblegum Crisis, which is probably 40 years old at this point. Basically about kind of like Bruce Wayne, except so you got this person, this girl that's rich, and they develop these boomers, they call them, basically robots that started out, they built them to help humans, and they eventually became their own, and they go around terrorizing things now. So this girl, she created this team of Avengers, basically, with body armor like Iron Man kind of a deal. And they go around and they protect people, they destroy these boomers. So Bubblegum Crisis, Akira, that's another 40-year-old classic.
Okay.
Today, Castlevania, that's badass. There's a lot of stuff. There's a couple of things. Blue Eyed. It's a Japanese animation about intermixed Japanese character. It's Blue Eyed Demon, I want to say. It's Blue Eyed something, but that's pretty recent. It's awesome. There's some steampunk stuff that's out. I get some names for next week.
You a Demon Slayer fan?
Demon Slayer, no.
No? Okay. I watched a few episodes of that. My daughter's pretty good. And then there's My Hero Academia or whatever. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. I've not seen it, but I remember my kids being big into that.
I think the steampunk one is like Arcadia or something like that.
Okay.
I'll get the real
Got
names.
it. What about Astro Boy?
No.
So I didn't know this.
But the new Ultron, I like him. I like that show.
Got it. I didn't know what Astro Boy was. My daughter was telling me for some reason they were studying anime in school. I'm like, oh, that's what we go to school for. Cool. Yeah. You could just watch only comics and learn stuff there.
Or that.
Yeah.
But dude, I was deep into anime.
Yeah.
When I was in the Navy, I deep into it.
Next up, my man Andrew Duncan. He's been a commenter here before. Andrew Duncan says, "You guys are the best." Cool. I agree with that, right? I think I agree with that. Question for you: would you rather the MCU portray the X-Men and the Fantastic Four really well, or would you rather the DC reboot be the quality of Phase 1 through 3 of MCU? So it's like, would you rather DC comes out swinging with a really great first, phase of their reboot, or the MCU portray X-Men, Fantastic Four properly? If you had to pick one or the other, I'm going X-Men. I'd rather the MCU gives X-Men and Fantastic Four the right portrayal.
The real answer is I would like to see both. But if I have to pick one, so we're in jail and I gotta do one.
Yeah.
I agree with the X-Men Fantastic Four because they already have a trend of doing, decent stuff, and DC is just the disappointment is such that there is no expectation at this point.
Right.
So
even
I'd
if
rather
they
them
were
to continue to do good with what they got as opposed to try to resurrect something that they have all failed at.
Got it. And I'm saying yes more because I think for me, there's more enjoyable stories with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. I mean, I like DC, but if I'm DC, I'm heavy Batman. So if you were like, hey, would they do Batman with the same level of 1 through 3 phases of MCU? I'd be like, oh, yeah, do that shit. But, like, the rest of the DC, I'm not that excited about, honestly, Green Lantern and Superman and shit like that. I'm probably, alone in that maybe, but I just think the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and to your point, they have the Avengers already set up, so to see them kind of interact with this established universe, but done the right way, would be great. I feel like the comics come to life,
Well, I think, as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about why does, Marvel do so well with these things? It's because they have a lot of grounded characters. DC, I mean, you got Wonder Woman, Amazonian, God, basically.
Right.
You have Superman, an alien god. You have the Green Lantern. He's a guy that got plucked off the earth, but he's one of 1,000 guardians throughout the universe. You got the Flash. There's no Spider-Man. There's no Daredevils.
Right.
There's no
grounded character.
Grounded character. Everybody is like super in DC.
Marvel's more relatable,
which makes them unrelatable. Right.
Yeah, I'd say Marvel's more relatable.
Which is also, I believe, why it's so hard for them to make decent stuff. They're not pulling out those grounded characters in DC if they exist.
And I think the other issue is they take these godlike characters and they try to put the MCU recipe on them and make them funny and relatable. Like, they're not relatable.
They're not.
They should be portrayed like Black Adam's not that relatable in that movie. He's a badass.
Right.
Like, that makes sense.
Right.
Don't make, Clark Kent another version of Spider-Man.
Right. Which is why Batman is so popular. Is the number one character in DC because he's a guy that does all this stuff without all these powers.
Right.
He has other resources, obviously.
Correct.
Right. But he's the most grounded person, and why Superman is number 2.
And why the Ezra Miller Flash bombed because they tried to make Barry Allen Peter Parker.
Right.
He's not.
Not at all. I didn't get how they try to make him Peter Parker, but really?
Well, to me, he's a funny young kid who's got, like, he's dorky, he's geeky. I'm like, this is like I want to be Peter Parker in my mind. That's my interpretation of it.
The Barry Allen that they should have portrayed on the big screen was the Barry. I would have loved if they would have took the guy from the CW and just continued him over. I don't know why they didn't do that. The suit was cool. I mean, everything about that guy was cool.
Right.
And they came up with this kidnapper dude, whatever.
All right, moving on. Robert Woodard, I guess, on TikTok says, this is probably more of a question for you. Hey, the Eternals wasn't that bad to me. Why no part 2 in your opinion? Why don't you want a part 2 of the Eternals?
It was nonsensical. It was just, I don't, what's the one thing that I could say that would make it a bad movie? It was a bad movie. That's the one
it was
thing
boring for me. That was my big thing with it. It was just so boring. Like, why do I care about these characters?
And there was so much, you had Superman in there, you had Flash in there, you had Wonder Woman in there. Just make it just don't waste the money on the Eternals and make it the Justice League. Now, what I did like about it was the backstory on the Eternals. That they're basically cloned robots.
Yes.
That the somebody basically created.
Yeah.
And they're designed to go out and carry out a mission. That was the interesting part about that story.
Yeah.
And the girl that could run real fast, she was the most interesting out of all of them.
Yeah.
So if you take those two components and do something and throw away all the other mess, I would like to see an Eternals.
You do like a 30-minute kind of one-shot, like the werewolf thing on MCU. Just do that.
Or not the werewolf. Or Moon. I would like to see the Moon Knight. Moon Knight could be a kick-ass thing if they did that right.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's like a Batman kind of a deal, but like a mystical Batman.
Right.
But, I mean, I think they should do another run of that.
Yeah, I liked. Well, you didn't get through the whole thing. You saw it did take a little while to get going, but I did like how that thing ended. But yeah, for me, Eternals, it was boring. I do agree with you that some of the best parts were like, I liked like the world building, like it explained kind of the background of the MCU and how it was formed.
Yep.
You know, that part was cool. But honestly, I don't know, that book, this MCU timeline book, I think you ordered it too.
Yep.
It talks a lot about that stuff in there. So I'm like, reading some of that background in that book is actually better than the Eternals, to be honest. So that's why no Eternals too.
Actually, as I'm thinking about it, it wasn't that bad. So I'm changing my mind.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Now, not that I still don't want to see an Eternals 2. But I'm thinking about, like, you know, they were so old and they came up through history where they were worshipped by the people of the time because they were so advanced and they brought all these things to them. I like that aspect of it too. But the whole thing that make them Eternals, that the fighting scenes and those levels of interactions, I didn't buy that.
Yeah.
So all the non-supered stuff is what actually got me through the movie. The speedster, you know, she locked herself up for 1,000 years inside the spaceship reading books because she was so bored with everything else. So
that's how I felt after watching the movie.
Those kind of backstories, you know, made the movie palatable, but not a good movie.
Yeah, I read one Eternal story in my life in the comics. When I heard this movie was announced, like, let me find out who they are. So I just researched the Marvel app, Marvel Limited. Went through. I found a nice little run. It was probably a, 6-7 book run, and the whole premise of the story was all the Eternals were living on Earth, but they had forgot, like they had some memory issue where they forgot that they were these gods.
Right.
So one of them remembered. And that one was trying to remind all these. So throughout this story, they end up, becoming the Eternals again. And I was like, after I read that, I said, dude, that'd be a great intro, origin story for the MCU, because we're supposed to believe that these guys have been around for all this time. Thanos is down here doing his shit. These motherfuckers just up there watching it, like, it's just, it's not our turn to intervene. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So anyway. Moving on. Son of Sekhmet. He's commented before. You know what he said last week, Adrian? He said, Adrian's on fire today. Adrian's always on fire, right? But do you agree with Son of Sekhmet? Were you on fire last week?
Sure. Whatever I said, whatever I was doing.
Yep. Eric says, what exactly is wrong with Zack Snyder's Justice League? It's head and shoulders better than Joss's version. Yeah, but I'm not comparing it I'm comparing it to actual movies that are good.
Right.
And again, I think my man I forget the guy who said it, but he said it was fun but horrendously overrated is the best way to describe that movie. Timothy Mitchell says, don't ask me my opinion. I think it's one of the best movies in a long time. Well, Timothy Mitchell, we didn't ask you your opinion.
Yet you gave it to us anyways.
You gave it to us anyways. But thank you. Seriously. What else we got? I got a few others here. Yoda815 says, bruh, the trailer for 300 is better than Justice League. Do you agree with that, Adrian?
That's accurate. I like that.
That is pretty. Dre the Writer 82, this was in response to our Agree to Disagree last week. He says, first time in a while y'all nailed a take, respectfully. Now, is it us or is it Dre? Is this maybe the first time Dre came to his senses and agreed with us, maybe?
Let's go with that's his perspective.
Mr. J. Rodriguez says, tried watching Dune Part 1 like 5 times.
Dude.
Fell asleep every time.
I feel you.
I just want to know why he made it to 5. Like, dude, I've tried twice, and I fell asleep. I think I fell asleep for 2 days after. Like, it's literally something. It's like melatonin almost.
And the thing about it is that I tried to watch the first Dune. Now, this is back when
the
we
old
only had like 8 channels.
Yeah.
Right? I missed the first time because I was antenna boy. So I had to play the antenna.
Back damn, that was your job?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was everybody's job.
Yeah.
And, that was my turn.
Your turn that day.
Right. So, but yeah, I tried to even get through the old one, and I couldn't. It was just too slow, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I think I posed this question before, but could you imagine if Zack Snyder did a Snyder cut of Dune
In slow motion.
in slow mo the whole time?
Oh my god,
Dude, I
It'd
watched
be 8 days long.
Seriously, it'd be just a series. Dude, I got like a good 25 minutes in, and I'm literally like, when is this movie gonna start though? Like, are there, beginning credits that are going to hit at some point to get this thing kicked off? Because I'm like, what is happening? Nothing.
You know what? Every once in a while, I have to do a self-check, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to put into the universe, which means I usually ask somebody that I value their opinion.
Yeah.
Am I seeing this right? Is the way that I'm thinking correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, I respect your opinion in this matter.
Yep.
Does Dune suck or what?
Yeah, I think it does.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'm good then.
Okay,
good.
yeah. No,
self check done.
Okay. Oh, so we're just gonna self check each other. Yeah, love that. Chuck Cream, been a commenter here before, says MCU would for real wipe the floor with Fox and Sony on the Dead Homies. I believe. Do you agree with on the Dead Homies? MCU would destroy both Fox and Sony.
I don't know about the on the dead homie thing,
but yes,
the first part, yes,
okay.
I would agree.
What else we got here? Let's see. Let's move on. We got someone says these are the same guys who said the 7 beat the Justice League and Wolverine and Professor X as well. Yes, we are those same guys.
Yep, same guys.
Mike Mamula says Nightcrawler could solo the Justice League.
I can see where he's going.
Yeah.
Pop up next to Superman. Pop some kryptonite down his throat, put a bomb on the Flash that's motion activated. Batman's easy, just cut his head off.
Yeah,
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
All right, Mike Mamula. This ain't agree to disagree, but we agree. Ronnie says thoughts on a Lobo movie. The Lobo character.
Lobo is a pretty interesting guy. He's like a crazed. I mean, he's got Superman level strength.
Yeah.
Got the badass bike, the guns, clearly can fly around through space unprotected.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. But I also think they would have to neuter him again because he's not. I wouldn't even classify him as an Omega level, but he's just a badass character.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they could portray him properly again.
Why
don't Marvel? And this is theoretical. Why don't the Marvel universe just buy out the DC universe and just rewrite all the characters?
That'd be great. Dude, if that happens, Kevin Feige, we want a royalty check because the idea was formed here on We Respond. We'll share some with the fans because they sparked the question. So, we'll share some. We'll get back. Couple more. We're going to wrap this thing up. Art of Dave Brown Jr. says Alpha Flight would be fire, 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 a bunch of emojis. You said Alpha Flight movie?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Would love to see that.
Sir Kissling. Wow, Sir Kissling. Okay.
Kissling.
Commented that only comics would defeat the Justice League. I think we have already.
Right.
But you agree with that?
Or at least ridden them off into eternity, right?
Definitely. Last one. Lua says, you guys have great podcast voices. I don't know if it's the mic or just God-given podcast vocals, but it works, and I'm here for it. Thumbs up. Well, thank you, Lua. What do you think? Is it the mic, Adrian, or is it just our gifts?
Gifts.
It's because we're mutants.
Definitely gifts. That's it.
That's why we also would dominate the Justice League, because you don't know the depth of our mutant abilities, but one of them is having a podcast voice.
Right.
Yep. So there you have it on We Respond. We appreciate it's all fun. We appreciate all the comments, the good ones, the bad ones, the stupid ones, everything in between. And we appreciate the interaction. If you've not already, if you've gone on this whole ride with us and haven't subscribed, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just do it. It's just one little button. Hit it. If you want some cool merch like what me and Adrian are rocking here today in the studio, go to onlycomicsmerch.com. So next week, now we didn't do our Secret Wars review. Not to put you on the spot, but Adrian didn't do his homework. He didn't read it. So I didn't want to review it without Adrian. That'd be weird, We gotta be honest here, right?
Right. Just I got to watch Madam Web if you guys go and watch it.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. So, we'll put Madam Web on the back burner. But I think, what do you think? Next week, we'll do Secret Wars.
Yeah.
2015.
Sure.
And then we'll review the first 2 episodes of X-Men, 97. And whatever else happens from now till then, we'll figure it out. It's only comics. There's not a lot of rules here. Very loose. Only comics are a very fluid podcast,
Well, clearly we can come up with enough content regardless of what the
Yeah,
plan
exactly.
is.
We went a little. We cut a whole segment out and we went over. So,
Right.
I mean, not really over because there's no one in charge but us. You know,
Right.
it's not like they're knocking on the door. Hey, wrap that up. But they're giving me the go home, Adrian. So anyway, but I appreciate you coming in, Adrian.
Yep, always.
Appreciate you guys watching, subscribing, buying merch, and all the good fun and everything else that comes along with this wild ride that you take with us every single week. We're coming. This is episode 48. Do 2 more, and it's episode 50.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.